The story begins with the MC practicing martial arts, and his friend, after taking a punch, cannot accept the pain he felt and asks if he has perhaps reached subtle mastery. He replies that he reached it 2 days ago. Subtle mastery is one of the stages of martial arts in that world, and the levels are beginner, proficient, subtle mastery, great achievement, and lastly, perfect completion. His friend says that this is incredible, since when it comes to the Vajra fist, which is the diamond fist, no one compares to him. Suhong asks if he rested enough since they need to continue training, but Oolong calls him a training maniac since he does not know how to stay still. He says goodbye to everyone, and the teacher, upon seeing the MC, says that he finally found him since he wants to know about the registration he was going to make for the martial arts course, and why he still has not paid the 30,000 fee. Suhong asks if he can give him a few days, but he replies that unfortunately, he cannot, since even knowing that the family is going through difficulties, rules are rules. The MC continues training and thinks about the registration fee of 30,000. He also remembers that at 3 years old, his parents died in a disaster caused by ferocious beasts. Since then, he has lived with his uncles, and after learning about his talent in martial arts, they dedicated themselves as much as possible to helping him. After all, in that era where beasts roam freely, being a warrior is an extremely high-income profession. He is aware that he is training as much as possible to give them a better life, but he is only making everything more difficult. After some time, he returns to his house, but before opening the door, he hears his uncles talking about the rent and that they want to delay it a little longer so they can help with Su Hong's fee. His aunt suggests even stopping her own medicine since the disease has no cure, but her husband says no, since he will get another job, and she just needs to rest to recover her health. The MC feels bad hearing this. He slaps his own face and opens the door saying he has arrived. His aunt asks if he is exhausted since he arrived very late, and also asks him to rest a little since she will prepare dinner. Su Hong goes to his room and keeps imagining that his uncles have done enough for him, and therefore he needs to solve his own problems. For martial arts practitioners to earn tens of thousands in a few days, there is only one place. The next day, he goes to the underground fighting arena, and the announcer announces that the one responsible for defending the arena will be the Minotaur, and if he wins 4 consecutive fights, he will receive a bonus of 60,000. People speculate about who it could be and believe it must be a rookie. The woman asks him to hype up the place more, but he does not understand how he would do that. She warns that he only needs to use provocations or insults and says that a rookie is a pain because he does not know any of that. The MC immediately shouts that he is invincible and tells the chickens in that place to come at him. The crowd thinks he is arrogant and that he will probably die without even realizing it. Because of that, everyone begins asking for someone to finish off the Minotaur. The MC soon realizes that the underground arena has a heavy thirst for blood, but he knows it is the only way to gather money quickly. At that moment, a fighter climbs into the arena guaranteeing that he will win. Su Hong quickly realizes that the guy's momentum is strong, but his base is weak. In addition, the guy charges without thinking, and he takes advantage of it to use his technique, which lands directly on the guy's chin, throwing him out of the arena. He tells the next one to come up quickly, and the announcer celebrates the Minotaur's victory. Everyone shouts that it was incredible, and another fighter warns that he will not have the same luck. The MC imagines that this time the physique of his opponent is strong, and that he will be able to test his Vajra fist. The fighter charges, and the two collide their fists, but the MC sees an opening and counterattacks with his other fist. That's because the guy used too much force in the upper part and left his waist full of openings, and it was enough to land a kick that sent the guy flying out of the arena. With this victory, he tells the next one to come up immediately. Meanwhile, at the top of the arena, one of the organizers comments that the MC is not even a quasi-warrior, but his strength surpasses that of an apprentice. He is not so strong nor so weak and is perfect for armed fights. His subordinate asks to let him fight, and he tells him to remember that he must not reveal that he has already been promoted to warrior. Back in the arena, the MC imagines that with his Vajra fist at micro level, it is not difficult to deal with apprentices, and if he wins once more, he will obtain the 60,000 bonus. Suddenly, people shout that it will be the White Fox and ask if the guy is not a quasi-warrior and if that is not cheating. Su-hong becomes worried since it will definitely be difficult, although he cannot lose. The white fox smiles and tells him not to be afraid since he will be gentle. The final fight is then announced and the two launch into the attack. The MC is aware that his level is lower, so he needs to give everything in the first strike, and both collide their fists. However, with this clash, he quickly realizes that the guy is not a quasi-warrior, since he is much stronger, and he becomes concerned because his opponent is definitely a real warrior who deliberately suppressed his bloodlust. The fox releases a bit of his energy and lands his thunder fist directly, which manages to seriously injure the MC. People immediately realize that the explosion was from the thunder fist and that the fight is definitely over. The white fox continues attacking frantically, and the MC defends himself at all costs, since if he receives a direct hit, it will be over, and he needs to find a chance to counterattack. However, one of the blows passes through his guard and hits his face directly, throwing him to the other side of the arena. He thinks this is terrible since his consciousness is fading, until the white fox places his foot on his head, stating that he will not earn a single cent of the bonus, but says that his master is inviting him to join the group because with armed fights, he will have a great future. Therefore, he tells him to think carefully since the price of refusal is something he cannot pay. The MC asks if they really consider themselves warriors by doing that kind of thing, and the guy takes that as a refusal and says he will destroy his dream once and for all. However, before his kick lands, the MC feels an incredible pressure inside his body that makes him dodge the attack. Then, standing up, releasing his aura, he says that he will become a warrior, and therefore he cannot fall in that place. The white fox does not understand how he managed to stand up after receiving his thunder fist. The MC can only imagine that he will become a warrior, and that he cannot let the sacrifice of his uncles be in vain. A future like that is something he could never accept. A system appears asking that for the sake of his family and the beliefs he holds, what is the limit he is willing to give? He replies that he is willing to give everything of himself, with an incredible power coming out of his body. The MC feels as if he were in another place, and to make matters worse, a kind of giant monster is standing in front of him. This being says that he will give him that opportunity, and an aura goes to Su-hong and materializes in the form of a system. His name is displayed along with some attributes, and a mission is active. He finds this curious since it looks more like a touchscreen and decides to click on the Missions tab. Its name is Path of the Arena. He must improve his skills by bringing the Diamond Fist to great achievement and raising the Floating Light Palm and Void Step to subtle mastery. He becomes intrigued since it is a guide for beginners, until suddenly, a punch comes toward him, and he dodges in surprise, also realizing that it is a clone of himself using the Vajra Fist, and that it is even more refined, as standard as the textbooks. He does not want to miss the opportunity to improve and moves to counterattack. However, the clone grabs his arm and makes another movement, making him realize that that opponent is demonstrating how it is done. He receives the blow and steps back from the impact. The MC looks at his system and notices that the progress is at 10% and thinks it is a perfect opportunity to quickly raise the level of his techniques. So he runs into battle, and the two begin exchanging blows frantically. His fist keeps leveling up, as does his empty step. And the longer they exchange blows, the more his skills keep increasing until he finally reaches 100% proficiency with both the Floating Light Palm, the empty step, and the Diamond Fist. He feels a huge amount of energy overflowing through his body, and the system congratulates the player for completing the mission, and the reward has already been sent, only requiring him to accept it. After doing that, back in real life, his body is overflowing with an incredible aura, and the white fox moves to attack since her target is acting very mysterious and tries to land her thunder fist, but misses every attack. Su-hong, thinking she is far too slow, throws a punch that is strong enough to break the mask and also leaves the guy knocked out on the ground. The audience simply cannot believe what they have just seen, and the MC simply states that he wants to receive the bonus since he won the fourth fight. The announcer says yes, and congratulates the Minotaur for successfully defending the arena. The businessman, seeing this, simply cannot understand how an apprentice managed to use the Vajra Fist at its maximum mastery, and therefore asks his henchman to discover the true identity of the fighter. After that, the MC leaves but realizes he is being followed and therefore moves at high speed. The two guards do not understand how he vanished, but know they must discover the boy's identity no matter the cost. Su-hong is hanging from the top of the wall and an hour later manages to reach his house. His uncles, seeing the pile of money, become frightened and ask if he robbed a bank. He replies that he did not, since he was only sponsored for being a good fighter, and asks his uncles to believe him. The two become amazed since their nephew would never lie and believe the boy has a great future. Later that night, the MC goes to the rooftop and reflects that the registration fee has been solved and the rent has been paid, and he gives thanks since thanks to the system he managed to escape danger, but he has not seen any change in his attributes so far. Besides that, he notices he gained some martial points and decides to see what happens. After placing some points into vitality, he feels his body overflowing with an incredible aura, and with that, he realizes he has reached the level of a near warrior. Because of this, he decides to place all the remaining points into vitality, and after doing so, he notices his physique has visibly increased and his wounds have also been healed. As a test, he starts jumping from house to house, since he is filled with incredible vigor, and decides to go to the school's training field since it has a combat power measuring device. After arriving at the location, he walks to the device and concentrates the energy in his fist, and when he realizes he has gathered enough, he throws a precise punch at the machine. However, he begins to sweat cold since the machine simply could not withstand his punch, and he becomes worried that he might have to pay for the damage. To make things worse, someone shouts that they are hearing a noise and Su-hong runs away like a madman. The old man goes to the machine and simply cannot believe that someone broke the school's meter, shouting and guaranteeing that he will teach a lesson to whoever did this when classes begin. The next day, several students are gathered in the gym of the first high school of Xingcheng. The MC, at the back of the line, questions why Chen Shan was beaten. His classmate whispers that they discovered the boy broke the training field's meter and, since he did not admit it, he was punished by the principal. Su-hong sounds cold since he discovered who took the blame. The old man tells everyone to remain silent and says that he invited his comrade in arms, the grade 3 warrior Chentian, and that he will teach the Thunder Fist, which is a rank C technique. The class celebrates since it is the first time they see a grade 3 warrior, and this martial art costs hundreds of thousands in a dojo. The MC reflects that this technique was the one used by the White Fox, and it was indeed a powerful punch. He knows that learning this technique would cost a lot of money, and therefore he needs to take advantage of this opportunity. Chentian warns that he will train it from beginning to end 10 times, and how much they learn depends entirely on them. He positions himself and throws a punch into the air, demonstrating it. At the proficient level, one can produce 3 thunderclaps, and at the micro level, there will be 5 thunderclaps. Then he finishes by showing exactly the level he is currently at. He says that upon reaching perfection, it will be possible to produce 9 thunderclaps, but they should not be ambitious since they are at the beginner level, and anything is profit. All the students begin practicing, and several hours later they are completely exhausted since they made no progress at all. Lu Min, tired, cannot understand how he could learn this since rank C martial arts are extremely difficult, and asks Su-hong if he perhaps learned it, but he finds it strange when he sees that he disappeared. On the other hand, Chen Shan managed to reach the beginner level, and the boy questions how his brain works since he is definitely a genius. The principal says that the boy is the #1 genius of the school and therefore wants to know if there is interest in guiding him. The warrior finds it amusing since in any other city, that level is only acceptable. Then the two go outside, and Chentian admits he wasted his time since the class is very weak. The principal disagrees with this since the students are only beginners, and the man is looking for a top genius. The two continue talking while walking around the school until they are startled when they see the MC overflowing with incredible thunder throughout his body. The warrior shouts that is the 7th thunderclap Thunder Fist, and he never imagined that there would be a specialist of that level in that school. The principal says it is impossible since he has never heard of it, and also points out that the clothes belong to a student and not to someone older. The warrior says that this is impossible since he only taught for half a day, and there is already a student at that level of mastery. Suddenly, the principal panics since If he heard correctly, he heard 9 thunderclaps. Chentian becomes extremely excited since he understood everything and, gathering energy in his fist, uses the skill once again. With that, he manages to advance to 8 thunderclaps and managed to do it thanks to the MC who inspired him. The two run since they urgently need to see who the student is, but as they get closer, they realize he has already run away. The MC, already far from the school, says that he did not expect that training a rank C martial art would be so exhausting, and he also sees in the system that his Thunder Fist has reached perfection, and he must think about how to earn martial points to advance to the warrior level as soon as possible. But he does not know if he will achieve that by dueling normally, or if he needs to be between life and death. Sometime later, he arrives at his workplace, the Furious Thunder Dojo. Inside, several martial artists are training, and one of them asks why the MC appeared there. He replies that he had nothing to do, so he wanted to practice a little. At this moment, one guy defeats another, and this one says that he heard that everyone there is trash and still blames their master. Su-hong asks what is going on, and the boy replies that that guy's teacher is very strong but despises commoners like them, and, because of that, teaches carelessly. In addition, that guy's disciple, the one with grape-colored hair, is also very strong. Leon prepares to deliver the final punch, but the MC appears holding his arm and tells him to stop taking advantage of others. The guy gets irritated and calls him to fight on the ring. He accepts, but before they could do that, the teacher arrives at the dojo and tells them to start the class. The grape-haired guy points out that he was lucky, but the MC gets irritated at how arrogant the boy is. Mushan warns that it is the last day he will teach the Furious Sea Spear and that he will demonstrate it only once. He positions himself and already imagines that he will demonstrate it only that one time, since he doubts that a bunch of trash could learn it. The MC keeps observing carefully, since he needs to learn it on the first try. After the teacher performs the demonstration, he leaves and says they must learn it on their own from that point on. The dojo students become furious, since he only demonstrated it once, and it is impossible to learn like that. Su-hong reflects that the core of that technique is not so complicated, and, after preparing himself, he makes a precise movement and begins to practice in front of everyone, who find it incredible since they did not know there was a prodigy in their academy. At that moment, Leon returns to the inside, asking what the noise is and whether they somehow managed to learn it, until he sees the MC performing the correct movements and becomes surprised, since he needs to test his depth. And if he is truly a genius, it will be interesting. He enters the ring saying that he will give some tips about the technique and positions himself to demonstrate. A boy asks to remember that although the guy is arrogant, he is extremely strong. The MC tells him not to worry and also takes his stance, since he wants to see it for himself. Leon attacks by activating his Furious Sea Spear at the subtle mastery level, but Su-hong, after taking a deep breath, also activates the Furious Sea technique, but at the maximum level. The guy simply cannot understand how it is possible that some beginner has reached the proficient level. The MC attacks and both strikes collide. Leon cannot understand how someone who is not even a warrior can reach the proficient level so quickly. Su-hong sees an opening and manages to knock the spear out of his opponent's hands. In addition, the system notifies him that he gained another 35 martial points for defeating a higher level warrior, and he finally understands that normal duels also give points, and that he will be able to look for more people to train with in the future. Leon falls to his knees thinking this is impossible, since there is no way to reach the proficient level in the Furious Sea Spear, and that makes him question all his years of training since they were for nothing. Still furious, he stands up to attack because he feels like a useless person, but before he can hit the MC, the teacher appears shouting for him to stop. The teacher approaches and slaps him across the face, saying that if he does not have the courage to face defeat, then he is not even a warrior. In addition, he reflects that the MC, just by watching a single demonstration, managed to learn the Furious Sea Spear up to the proficient level, and not even the geniuses of the Imperial Capital or the Magic City are that exaggerated, and since he knows that Leon is very arrogant, even though he is a genius, it was good that he suffered a defeat, and because of that, he apologizes for his lack of discipline. The MC finds it strange how the guy changes his attitude so quickly. After finishing, he leaves since he became very tired, but at least he gained quite a lot of martial points, and also learned the Thunder Fist and the Furious Sea Spear. Another thing to remember is that the school exam will be in a few days, and the rich students have already prepared high-quality alloy weapons, so he also needs to prepare a weapon for the exam as quickly as possible. Since he felt comfortable using the spear, he decides to buy an alloy spear, but he worries because with the little money he has, this is impossible, since he cannot even treat his aunt's illness, let alone buy an alloy weapon. He wonders what other ways exist to earn money until he hears on a television that ferocious beasts are increasing day after day, and the Lord is summoning warriors to hunt these monsters in exchange for a generous reward. He sees a good opportunity in front of him. Meanwhile, at his house, Chinwei asks her husband not to work so hard since they received a large amount of money from the MC. He is aware of that, but does not think it is right to place the entire burden of supporting the family on the boy, and because of that, he needs to take the chance to build a good amount of savings. At that moment, Su Hong arrives at the house and asks his aunt to leave the work to him, and also tells Muram not to work outside anymore, since he is now managing to earn money and can simply stay taking care of his aunt. The man smiles and tells him not to worry, since he is only earning a few coins to help with the daily expenses, and is not pushing himself at all. Chinwei comments that the MC will spend a lot of money on training in the future, and because of that, they are saving as much as possible. He reflects that his uncles are used to a difficult life, and unless he earns enough money for the rest of their lives, they will not retire. Because of that, he cannot let this opportunity pass, and is determined to receive the reward for hunting the ferocious beasts, since he knows the wilderness area is dangerous. For safety, he decides to place all of his martial points into vitality. Now he has 95 points, and is only one step away from reaching the warrior level. 2 days later at the school gym, he is exhausted since he pushed himself very hard until he finally managed to bring all his techniques to the perfect rank, and only now, everything is ready for him to leave the city. He goes to the warrior base of Xingcheng and thinks that it is the first time he has visited the place, and before he had only seen it on television, and the warriors who are normally rare to see are everywhere in that place. He reads that ferocious beasts without classification give 300 coins. Initial level beasts give 1,000 coins. Medium level beasts give 3,000. High level beasts give 5,000, and so on. His biggest surprise is that he must cut the monster's left ear as proof, otherwise it will not be counted, and he finds it incredible how primitive it is. A man arrives at the counter asking them to calculate how much it is worth, and the MC believes the bag must be full of ears from ferocious beasts. At that moment, another group arrives ordering everyone to get out of the way, and one of them announces that the young master has arrived. Su Hong becomes intrigued since the clothes and the figure of the man look a bit like the white fox he saw in the underground arena. In addition, people whisper that the young master was beaten badly a few days ago and even disappeared so that no one would see him. The MC looks toward the group and the young master stares back. Su Hong reflects that it is not only the ferocious beasts that are dangerous since humans are as well, and because of that, he must be cautious. He reaches the gate and the instructor asks if someone so young will really go alone, but allows him to pass since ignorant and fearless brats are everywhere. The MC arrives at the forest and confidently says that he will return with a bag full of ears. 2 hours later, still in the forest, he becomes worried since he did not see any beasts and wonders if they are all dead. Because of this, he decides to search deeper. But as soon as he starts running, he runs into a giant wolf. He knows that it is the Black Moon Wolf, a ferocious beast of the initial level. The wolf lets out a roar and charges at him. He dodges the first attack and, gathering energy in his hand, strikes with the Thunder Fist, which sends the wolf flying violently into a tree, to the point that it falls dead on the ground. He finally feels the sensation of fighting a monster, and it is more exciting than he imagined. His conclusion is that he can already kill a level 1 ferocious beast in the initial stage with just one blow, and he does not know how it would be against one in the middle stage. As soon as he says this, a giant furious bear appears behind him, but it is also defeated with just one punch, which makes him realize that level 1 monsters will not be a problem, so he just cannot mess with level 2 ones. He removes the ears and knows he already has 3,000 bonus guaranteed. At that moment, the system informs him that the accumulated Mad Do points are already enough to advance to Warrior and asks him to raise his level as quickly as possible. He becomes happy for finally being able to advance in level until he feels an absurd pressure and wonders what presence that was that he felt, since it is a beast on another level. He runs to see what it is until he reaches the location and gets startled since it is a black jade python, a level 1 ferocious beast in the final stage. The monster hits the warriors who are in the place, throwing them against the rock, and then attacks the MC as well since he was too close. He manages to dodge, but the snake attacks too fast and strikes him with its tail, throwing him far away. He falls beside a body, grabs the spear that was lying there, and stands before the serpent. The monster wastes no time and attacks, but he dodges while reflecting that to kill a monster of that level, it would require several warriors of similar levels cooperating with each other. Even knowing that his techniques were all cultivated to perfection, being enough to kill a black bear with a single blow, he believes that with that serpent, it is different. Then, he jumps onto a tree and uses the air step to gain height. Only then does he use the Furious Sea Spear and throws the weapon, which pierces the monster's belly. He runs to retrieve the spear, and after doing so, gathers energy once again and throws it toward the monster, piercing its body once more. He continues doing this since he is aware that the difference in size between them is very large, and it is difficult to kill it with a single blow, but he can weaken it first. He is almost struck by another attack, but counters with the Thunder Fist and retreats immediately since his strategy needs to be like this. He needs to find an opportunity to attack again and then retreat, but he did not imagine it would be so exhausting. In addition, the snake is also at its limit, so he needs to take advantage of that. However, he senses something approaching, and when he turns around, he sees a warrior heading toward him, and in surprise, he blocks the attack but is thrown far away. The MC gets up and asks who they are. The young master comments that they met again and asks if he would not like to give that serpent as a gift. The blonde comments that when he saw him leaving the city alone, he was sure he would die quickly and did not expect that luck would be so good that not only did he not die, but he also found the black jade serpent gravely injured. The MC understands what is happening since apparently the group has just arrived to be saying that, and becomes worried since they have the numerical advantage and he cannot face them head on. While thinking about this, the big guy attacks once again, but the MC gets irritated by this and asks if they really believe he cannot defeat them just because he received a surprise attack. Their fists collide, and the man cannot believe the terrifying strength he is witnessing. In addition, he receives a punch straight to the face that makes him fall unconscious to the ground. The young master admits he is surprised by the Vajra fist and concludes that the MC is the Minotaur. Su-hong also concludes that the guy is the white fox he fought in the arena. The guy says he has never suffered such humiliation in front of everyone and therefore orders his lackeys to kill the MC. He grabs his spear and starts running away, but the gang chases after him deep into the forest. The swordsman warns that they are greater in number and therefore do not need to fear a single guy, until Su-hong appears behind him and with his spear delivers a strike that makes the guy fall unconscious from the impact. The white fox becomes worried since he does not understand how someone can be so fast. They form a defensive formation, frightened, since they are hearing the 9 thunderclap fist, something that not even a level 3 warrior could perform perfectly. The young master begins to sweat cold since he has no idea how a boy has both the perfect Vajra fist and the perfect Thunder Fist. The MC watches from afar since, if it were not for the fact that he fought the giant python earlier, he would have crushed all of them instantly. He throws his spear since he needs to find an opportunity to eliminate them one by one. The spear lands beside them, and because of this distraction, Su-hong approaches one of the guys and delivers a knee strike so strong that it puts another one to sleep. The last one remaining asks him to leave since their opponent is very strong, but the young master refuses since he cannot do something like that. The MC starts running at high speed from tree to tree until he reaches the spearman and also knocks him unconscious with a single blow. The white fox simply cannot understand how in just a few days a mere brat became so strong. The MC continues moving behind him, trying to distract him in the best possible way, and after preparing to attack, the blonde guy locks onto the location and prepares his attack void. Devastating finger. The attack was so strong that it destroyed a tree, and he keeps attacking in every direction since one of the strikes might hit by luck. Suhong observes this since that power is immense and is probably a rank B technique. The guy shouts that he has already memorized his face and that if he dares to harm him, when he returns, he will certainly kill the entire MC's family. He becomes furious upon hearing this and moves even faster. The white fox begins to say that his uncle is a supervisor of the base, but before he can finish speaking, the MC appears and, gathering all the energy into his fist, lands a punch directly on the brat's mouth that sends him flying like a cannonball. The MC does not stop there and makes it clear that he should never have used family as a threat. The white fox, extremely injured, tries to understand how someone became so strong since he is clearly still not a warrior. While he says this, the black serpent appears behind him and ends him with a single strike. The MC realizes he fought for too long and the monster ended up recovering its energy. The white fox group finally wakes up, finding MC bizarrely strong, and they have no idea where the young master is until they simply look to the side and notice Su Hong running toward them. But MC tells them to get out of the way since the black serpent is advancing in his direction. He dodges the strike, but the snake devours one of the warriors. Because of this, the system notifies that he indirectly killed a warrior and therefore gained 30 points. The same happens with the swordsman since the monster killed him, and a notification appears giving another 30 points for the indirect death. He is surprised since he had no idea it was possible to gain points like that. The snake prepares to attack him, but he goes into the air using his air steps since he gained enough points to become a warrior, and knows that if he could find a safe place to advance, it would be perfect. No sooner does he think that than he sees a cave right ahead. He decides to run toward the entrance, and the monster crashes into it, unable to enter because the entrance is far too small. Already inside, MC sees that the snake is persistently trying to get in, and therefore quickly opens his system and starts spending his martial points as fast as he can. He begins to level up his energy like crazy and feels as if lava, not blood, runs through his veins. His points finally reach 100, and with that, he advances to Warrior Level 1. He feels an intense power overflowing from his body, now that he is a real warrior. Then he looks at the snake since it is his turn to attack, and, concentrating energy in his fists, lands a precise blow that throws the monster away as if it were nothing. He does not stop there, and continues advancing toward its head. The monster tries to attack, but he firmly holds his spear and throws it against the monster's body. Then, he prepares his thunder fist and punches the serpent's head, which is smashed against the ground. The dust begins to dissipate and he stands before it, gaining 92 points for this kill. He reflects that to hunt the fierce beasts, he needs to cut off their left ear to receive the money, but he does not know what to do with the snake since it has no ears. Seeing no better option, he simply leaves, and on the way, finds the lifeless body of the young master, but thinks that the situation he ended up in was actually cheap compared to what he threatened to do. He decides to search the body to see if he can find something useful and finds a book containing the technique Void Piercing Finger. At nightfall, he returns to the cave and fills the entrance with some stones. He also concentrates since he memorized the entire initial method of the Void Piercing Finger and now needs to use the system to completely master it. In his mind, his clone manifests through the system and immediately attacks with that technique, but he dodges the attack and begins using the ability to improve it, even reaching 97% progress. But the moment he learns the technique, he is struck in the head by the ability and the counter is still at 1% at the beginner level. He realizes that it is no wonder it is a rank B technique, since even the beginner level already carries enormous pressure, and he needs to find a monster to test it on. 3 days later, he finds a bear and tests his new technique, which finishes the monster with extreme ease. He finally reaches the perfect level and expected nothing less from a rank B technique and knows it is already time to leave. After returning to the warrior's base, everyone is surprised by the Thunder team since they managed to get a total of 230 from their hunt. But this quickly changes when MC arrives and draws the attention of even more people. The buyer shouts that there are 72 fierce beasts of level 1 at the initial stage, 83 at the middle stage, and 17 at the high stage, totaling 406,000 blue star coins. The people around simply cannot believe it, and he worries, since apparently he killed too many and did not want to draw so much attention. Suddenly, an explosion is caused at the central base, and people ask what happened, since it is impossible for a place full of high-level warriors to be attacked. The one responsible for this was Yeki, the young master's uncle. He orders them to block the base to the point that not even a fly can leave. People ask what happened, and he shouts that his nephew and the 4 warriors who accompanied him were killed. People cannot understand how this is possible, since a powerful group of 5 people was killed. Other people celebrate this in silence, since they know Ye Feng's character, as he used to rob others just for being the supervisor's nephew. Yechi announces that a rank B technique that was with the young master has disappeared, and because of that, all warriors must be searched and they will eliminate any suspect. Su-hong imagines that they have already seen the bodies, and that it is clear they were killed by the black snake, and because of that, it should not lead to him. However, the supervisor looks in his direction, and he cannot believe it. The team walks toward him, and the supervisor comments that he heard the boy alone killed the equivalent of 400,000 fierce beasts, and that such an ability is impressive. The secretary says that the boy is at most level 1 in the initial stage and would not be able to kill so many monsters, so he must have stolen the young master's backpack. The guards walk toward him, ordering him not to resist, or they will not be gentle. As soon as that is said, the tip of a spear appears in front of their faces. They cannot believe it, since they could not follow the speed at which the spear was drawn. The MC announces that he is a student from the first high school of Xingcheng, and therefore wants to know if they really want to search him. Yet he imagines that the director of that school is famous for protecting his students, so it would not be wise to mess with the boy. However, the suspicions are very great. In addition, he knows that if the MC really hunted the beasts on his own, it means he is an absolute genius, and they cannot make the mistake of offending someone like that, since the loss would be greater than the gain. Because of that, the supervisor approaches and says that the family's secret technique was stolen from his nephew's body, and therefore asks him to cooperate. Su-hong also says that he hopes they will not accuse an innocent person unfairly. The man says that, as compensation for allowing them to search him, he will give 10,000 coins. The MC asks for 30,000 to allow it, and imagines that in fact, the young master was killed by the giant python, and while they do not find the technique, they cannot blame him. Yeki accepts the terms, and the guards begin to search him, as well as his backpack. In the end, they find nothing, and the supervisor orders them to give the 30,000 he promised. Su-hong feels relieved, since he had the idea of getting rid of the book after learning it. Otherwise, he would be in serious trouble, and as he leaves, all he wants is to take a bath to change clothes, and afterward, he will go to the Warrior Association's evaluation registration, since he needs to obtain the guidance technique as soon as possible. Already at the Warrior Base Inn, he sees that he has 534 martial points, and in the past few days, he had been so focused on cultivating the void-piercing finger that he forgot to use the points. Even though all his techniques are already at the perfect level, he knows that each stage of a warrior requires a certain amount of blood energy, and if he uses all the martial points he has, the energy will go to 53, and a little more than 40 points would still be needed to reach the middle stage. However, the spirit and mortal body attributes have not yet been improved, and he does not even know what their effects are. Because of that, he decides to start increasing the spirit attribute, and even after increasing it a lot, he does not feel any change. On the other hand, when increasing the mortal body, the changes are evident, and because of that, he decides to add a little more. After doing all this, his energy is at 123 points, spirit is at 26 points, and the mortal body is at 36. Now, with the remaining points, he decides to invest 200 martial points into blood energy, and the rest will go to spirit. With all this investment, he feels that there is a colossal power inside his body, as if it were infinite, until he gradually begins to recover. He feels relieved for having returned to normal, since if he had continued with that muscular bodybuilder appearance, it would not have been easy to explain to others what had happened. 1 hour later, at the Warriors Association, The MC says that he wants to participate in the evaluation. The attendant informs that an employee will accompany him and asks if it is his first evaluation since he is very young. She also informs that for a level 1 warrior, the blood energy must reach 100 and the combat strength must surpass 1000 to be approved, and therefore wishes him good luck. People whisper that the MC is alone without even having a master, and trying to do that at that age is a waste of time. He finally arrives at the place, and right away it is announced that Fanjia has 102 energy points, and his combat strength is 992. Therefore, he was disqualified. Next, it is Liming's turn, who achieved 105 energy points and therefore is approved, only lacking the strength test. The boy positions himself in front of the machine and throws a punch with all his strength, reaching 1763 points, and therefore he is approved. Everyone around comments that they expected nothing less from the disciple of Jiang Ming, from the Furious Thunder Dojo, since all of those disciples are talented. The MC reflects that the Jiang Ming they are talking about is the teacher he met by the nickname Mushan, and as far as he knew, his disciple was Lian, grape-haired, but apparently he has more disciples. The boy announces that it is the MC's turn and imagines that he took the evaluation at that age because he is a genius, and another person who is also at the same age is ridiculous. However, he becomes frightened when he hears people saying that the energy meter must be wrong. That is because he scored 123 points, higher than all the others. Liming tries to calm himself since high blood energy is useless because combat strength is everything. The MC positions himself to take the strength test and keeps imagining that he advanced to warrior and even improved his physique, so he believes that using 40% of his strength is enough. But if he holds back too much, it may be that the combat strength will not reach the minimum required. Therefore, just to be safe, he decides to use 50% of his strength, but when he hits the power machine, it is thrown violently against the wall to the point that everything explodes. Liming simply cannot believe that he sent the strength meter flying with just one punch, and that strength is terrifying, besides not having used any martial technique. To make things worse, the score was 3004, considering that the strength standard of a level 1 warrior at the highest stage is at most 3000, so that number is unimaginable for a warrior at the initial stage. An employee comments to his master that it is the same boy from before and that his strength is simply terrifying. The man, recognizing that it is the Minotaur, says he is not even surprised after already witnessing that strength. Meanwhile, in another place, Linxian, who is the president of the Martial Arts Association, becomes furious upon receiving the news that another genius has appeared in the neighboring city and everyone is bragging about it. And if her own city does not produce more geniuses, it will be a problem. At that moment, an employee appears shouting because a monster has appeared in the warrior evaluation. She is startled, and the man explains that a level 1 warrior at the initial stage sent the machine flying with just one punch and reached 3000 combat points. Meanwhile, in the central hall of the Martial Arts Association, an employee tells the MC that first, he will take him to the second floor to register his warrior identity, and then they will withdraw the allowance. He thanks him, but someone appears saying that it will not be necessary, since she herself will do it personally. The employee cannot believe it, since the president of the association herself will proceed with the next steps. She introduces herself to Su Hong and asks him to follow her. He says that is fine, and imagines that that person is the president of the association, and that, as far as he knows, she is a level 5 warrior, although she is different in person from what he imagined. They go to the office and she asks if by any chance he is a student from the first high school, since the principal was lamenting the other day that the school that year only produced 2 ordinary grade 1 warriors, and in the end, they were hiding a genius of that level. The MC does not know what to say and asks why he is there, since he only wants to register as a warrior to withdraw his allowance and the guidance technique. The president asks him not to worry, since his warrior card and monthly allowance are already in progress because she arranged it. As for the guidance technique, she herself moves on to the matter of teaching and asks how much he knows about this technique specifically. He says that in the books it was said that the spiritual energy of the world is divided into attributes, and that the guidance technique is the method of absorbing this energy to strengthen the body itself. and that to absorb different attributes of energy, it is necessary to have a corresponding guidance technique. Linxian informs him that this information from the book is not wrong, but the technique is more than just a cultivation method, giving as an example the guidance technique of the celestial flames that she cultivated, mainly absorbing the energy of the fire attribute. At the same time that it strengthens the body, it allows her attacks to have the destructive power of that element. In addition, if one manages to project the elemental attack outward, it can increase the range of the strike, and if a grade 1 warrior can at least wrap the fist with a fraction of the attribute, it would already be excellent. He is surprised to learn that guidance techniques can also be used to attack, since he thought it was only to absorb spiritual energy, because the books did not teach anything about that. She explains that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth has 7 attributes, which are metal, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, and wind. Although each attribute has its own advantages and disadvantages, in terms of pure attack power, thunder comes first, metal second, and fire third. However, the specific type of guidance technique that he will be able to cultivate depends only on affinity. Suhong says he understands, since it is not as if he could train any guidance technique he wanted. She shows the crystal sphere that is used to test affinity, and that the larger the illuminated area is, the greater the affinity. Ordinary warriors have around 20 to 30%. She herself has 80% affinity, which is already considered very high, so she believes that a genius could certainly reach or surpass 90%. He takes the crystal in his hand, thinking that the president is incredible for becoming a level 5 warrior so young and is definitely an absolute genius. And she only achieved 80%, so reaching 90% would be excessive. At that moment, the crystal's glow becomes far too strong, frightening both him and her until it fills the entire room. She says she cannot believe it, because he has 100% affinity with the fire attribute, and asks if he knows what that means. He replies that he does not, and she tells him that he can absorb 100% of the fire spiritual energy from the environment without letting even a single trace escape. She cites herself as an example. She has 80% affinity, so 2 parts of the energy escape when she tries to absorb it, and because of that, she is already a level 5 warrior and became the president of the association. She points out that his future achievements will be greater than hers, and she did not imagine that the city would produce a monster that does not lose to the geniuses of the imperial capital or the magic city. He finds it incredible since the fire attribute is not bad. However, he would prefer the thunder attribute since if he had that attribute, it would be better. As soon as he thinks about it, the sphere begins to fill with intense electricity to the point of becoming completely full. He comments that apparently his affinity with the thunder attribute is 100% if he understood correctly, but she is simply speechless because he achieved a double affinity of fire and thunder at 100%. And that is far more than a genius because he is simply a monster. Then he shows that apparently he also has 100% in the wind attribute, but she no longer accepts that because it is too ridiculous. A few minutes later, she sits on the sofa and simply tries to process it since what she saw is impossible because all the attributes gave 100% and that must be a dream. She remembers that people used to consider her a top genius since grade 5. Warriors at 30 years old are as rare as phoenix horns. But when she faces someone who defies all logic, she realizes that she is just an ordinary person. Only then does she understand that to surpass existences that challenge reason, other equally extraordinary existences are necessary. She believes that she has found that kind of person. Meanwhile, MC keeps imagining that he achieved 100% in all 7 attributes, and that if he focuses only on thunder, abandoning the other 6, it would be a total waste. Because of that, he asked the president if she could give him the guidance techniques of the 7 attributes at once. She explains that a person's energy is limited, and no matter how great the talent is, it is better to focus on only 1 or 2 types. In the past, there were people who tried to cultivate 7 guidance techniques at the same time, and after decades, they were still only a grade 1 warrior. He says that he understands and that he only asked that because he could not decide, so he wanted to test each one before choosing which one he will follow. She says that it is fine, but asks him not to do anything foolish by wasting his talent for nothing. Then she comments that his school's monthly exam is approaching. He says yes and questions her sudden interest in that. The president answers that recently the conflicts in the battlefield of the heavens are becoming intense. A great war between the thousands of races and humanity could break out at any moment, and because of that, the countries are investing in the geniuses that are appearing, and she wanted to recommend him. Therefore, if he manages to get first place in the school's monthly exam, she will be able to give a recommendation spot. He thinks about it and imagines that in the war 10 years ago, he was just a child and lost all his relatives except his uncles, so he answers that he will do his best. That is because he is determined that he will never allow that tragedy to happen to his uncles, and he will become strong to protect them no matter the cost. Later that night, in his house, he tells his uncles that he officially became a warrior, and they become emotional since they expected nothing less from their nephew. Suhong says that he will receive a monthly allowance of 10,000, and because of that, his uncle no longer needs to work so exhaustingly. The old man says that everything is fine since now, apparently the boy is the pillar of the house, and because of that, he will do whatever he wants. All Suhong imagines is that he wants to see the two of them living peacefully since from that moment on, he will support the family. Later that night, he continues concentrating energy, and after accumulating enough, he tests his strike, but soon returns to normal. He imagines it seems like a beginner-level technique, but does not know why he does not feel any power even with the guidance technique. He looks at the system and sees that there is a guidance technique tab, and apparently he has learned it since it only appeared now. He notices that the Celestial Flame guidance technique is at 5% of level 1, and he did not know they could level up since the president did not mention this, and he believes that if levels really existed, she would definitely have mentioned it. He concludes that this means the levels of the ability can only be raised by him and no one else, and he finds that incredible. He tries to see how to raise the level of the guidance technique and whether it uses martial points the same way as the other techniques. However, the system reports that there are not enough martial points, and he thinks it is better to first cultivate the remaining techniques and then find a way to gain more points. He continues cultivating, and several hours later, he unlocks the Thunder, Water, Earth, and Wind Guidance Arts Level 1. He realizes that all 7 types of spiritual energy are repelling each other, and it is no wonder that the president said that the genius in the past who trained the 7 types of guidance techniques was still a grade 1 warrior even after decades. He realizes that although the 7 types of energy exist inside the body, he can only use one attribute at a time. If he tries to use a second attribute by force, the 2 attributes will violently repel each other and will end up disappearing. The natures of thunder and fire are very close, and he wonders if they truly cannot be fused. The power begins to get out of control when doing this, but he keeps trying at all costs. The next day at dawn, he decides to go just a little further and tries at all costs to make these powers fuse until he finally succeeds and feels relieved since it took the entire night to do it. And his next step is to go somewhere to test it. Suhong goes to the Martial Combat Plaza of the citizens of Xingcheng. This time, he will try on a level 3 strength meter because that way he will not break it. He punches using the power of thunder, and this time, he will use 30% of his strength since last time. He used 50% and it gave 3,000 power points. Now the result went past 2,300, and as far as he knows, it should have been around 1,800, but it increased by 500 points. Now, his test will be a little different since he wants to see the result by fusing the power of thunder with fire, and he punches the machine once again, and the result surpasses 3,000. He is surprised because counting only his physical strength and the fusion of thunder and fire, with 30% of his strength, he has already surpassed a grade 1 warrior at the high stage, and his energy is still 123 points, so it is extremely terrifying. This is only the fusion of 2 attributes, and if he manages to fuse the 7 attributes, he cannot even imagine the level of power he would become. Because of that, he decides to return to his house to try to fuse 3 attributes. After doing this for some time, he falls down lying on the ground since the difficulty of fusing 3 attributes is infinitely greater as he tried several combinations with the 7 attributes. and did not make the slightest progress. He wonders if it would be better to increase the level of the guidance technique to have greater success in the fusions, and since the next day is the monthly exam, he will obtain as many martial points as he can. The next day at the high school, all the students are gathered, and the principal points out that the monthly exam will be different from the previous ones, since the situation at the front line is tense, and from that moment on, there will be an elite training camp every year to select the geniuses who will train intensively. The resources of the training camp are vast, in addition to a large amount of martial arts and pills and grandmasters as instructors. The 3 best students in this monthly exam will be able to participate in the elite training camp organized by Xing Cheng. Everyone gets excited, since it is an elite training camp, and moreover, a grandmaster there is a level 7, while their director is only level 3. The MC finds it funny since the president said she would give a slot if he finished in first place. But apparently, the top 3 will get a slot anyway. Liu Min goes to the MC and says that Chen Shan and Li Tu have already become level 1 warriors, and many people have already learned the basics of the Thunder Fist, so they have no chance at all. Su Hong says he is surprised, since he was absent from school for only 10 days, and these guys have already advanced to warriors. His friend says yes, since the director brought the veteran Chen Tian to teach the Thunder Fist and give private lessons to the talented students, and their energy surpassed 100 a few days ago. Those 2 can already produce 3 bursts with the Thunder Fist. The 2 geniuses joke with each other that they will show everyone what a true genius is. Chen Tian asks the director if he still has not found the genius of the 9 bursts of the Thunder Fist. He replies that he searched everywhere and did not find him, and already believes he might not even be a student of his school. Just as he says that, he gets startled by more people arriving at the test. It was Jiang Ming asking why the old man looks so startled and saying that the quality of the students that year is not bad at all, and that is why he brought his 2 disciples, since when the exam ends, the first place will be able to duel against them. Hunli gets irritated by this, since the guy is clearly trying to humiliate him, but if he refuses, he will be admitting that the entire school does not have a single worthwhile talent. Jiang Ming then comments that obviously the quality of the students seems quite poor, and that if they want to refuse, there will be no problem. Chen Tian interrupts and asks if he is really looking for a fight on purpose. At that moment, Lian warns his master that something is wrong and tells him to look ahead, since he saw the MC among the students. Jiang Ming looks at the group and is shocked to see that Su Hong is really among the students. He begins to sweat coldly, since he never imagined that a monster would be studying at the first school and thinks it is a disaster, since he is definitely strong enough to defeat his 2 disciples without difficulty, and he himself would be the one embarrassed. Because of that, he suddenly changes his tone and asks them not to be angry, saying he was only joking, since his 2 useless disciples could never keep up with their students. Both disciples confirm this and say they surrender. The director and the instructor become furious since they are being provoked with sarcasm. Sometime later, already in the arena, the MC is called to duel Chen Peng. His friend thinks it is bad luck that Su Hong has to face an almost warrior right away and tells him not to try too hard since it is not worth getting hurt. The boy ready for battle tells him to give up immediately, but the MC simply disappears with his incredible speed, grabs the guy by the head, and slams him hard into the ground, winning the match. Liu Min simply cannot believe what he just saw, since he has no idea when Su Hong became so strong to the point of knocking out an almost warrior with a single strike. He continues winning all the fights one after another, and the instructor asks where Su Hong came from and why he was not present when he gave the private lessons. The director points out that he made a mistake by not noticing such talent before, and, since he did not give him the necessary attention, ended up wasting a prodigy. Chen Tian feels a strange sensation that he has seen him somewhere before but cannot remember where. At this moment, the semifinal between Chen Shan and Li Tu is announced. The 2 exchange frantic blows with similar strength, making it impossible to tell who is stronger. Li Tu warns that both of them are using the 3 Thunderclap Thunder Fist, and that if he does not use the trump card he has, he will not win. Chen Shan counterattacks and tells everyone to look carefully at what the #1 student of the school can do. The people are surprised to see that the boy is manifesting an attribute, and to make matters worse, it is the fire attribute, which has enormous power and only loses to thunder. Li-Tu is not intimidated and says that anyone can manifest an attribute. Once again, the crowd is shocked because Li-Tu can also manifest an attribute, and it is the metal attribute, which has even greater combat power than fire. However, it does not stop there, as the boy also reveals his trump card, which leaves Chen Shan shocked because that is the 5 Thunderclap Thunderfist, and there is not much he can do except receive the blow head on. The director is astonished by this since the boy had been hiding his strength. Chentian agrees, since in only 10 days he not only mastered attribute manifestation, but also took the Thunder Fist to another level. Hunli says, there is not much that can be done against the micro-level Thunder Fist of the metal attribute. Chentian thinks it is a pity for the MC, because if he also knew some kind of guidance technique, he might have had a chance in the fight. Jiang Ming hears this conversation and calls his old friend to make a bet, saying he will bet 50,000 on Su Hong's victory. The director asks if he has gone crazy because even though the MC is very good, he still does not know the guidance technique, so he accepts the bet since it is easy money. The final finally arrives, and Li-Tu says the MC was very lucky for not crossing paths with him or Chen Shan earlier. Su Hong thinks that after hunting so many fierce beasts, the students feel far too weak, but finally someone worth fighting has appeared. Li-Tu tells him not to worry, because if he reached the final, he can consider himself the second best in the school, and he charges forward since he himself is the best. He wastes no time and uses his best move with the metal attribute. The students watching think this is absurd because the fight will end before it even begins, since he is using the Thunder Fist right away. The MC prepares and also charges forward because he wanted to see where the limit of his physical body lies. People cannot believe it, because charging directly at the 5 Thunderclap Thunder Fist is asking to die. Both fighters exchange blows non-stop, and Li-Tu simply cannot believe that the MC used 5 instantaneous punches to neutralize the thunderclaps of his Thunder Fist. The two continue exchanging blows non-stop, and he begins to think that the MC is a monster because every punch he throws is heavier than the last. The people are surprised because Su Hong has not even used martial techniques and is already tied with Li-Tu, who is using the 5 Thunderclap Thunder Fist. Chentian suggests that the boy may have some kind of special physique, otherwise his strength would not be so exaggerated. The director celebrates because his school has finally produced a genius with a special physique. On the other hand, the instructor says that despite the impressive strength, Li-Tu has already condensed his attribute. Therefore, the MC has no advantage. The two fighters step back after exchanging blows, and Li-Tu gathers power to the maximum to use his attribute. He advances, saying that he has already won that fight, but Su Hong reflects that he wanted to see how far his physical body could fight against that guy, but it seems that will not happen. Then he decides to get serious because he will repay the respect and advances with his thunder attribute. Li-Tu cannot believe that his opponent can also manifest attributes. The same goes for the director and the instructor, who are simply left speechless when they see that a student has mastered the thunder guidance technique, since, combined with his special physique, it makes him one of the greatest talents, even frightening. The two collide with their blows, and Li-Tu realizes the great disadvantage he is at, since the thunder attribute is stronger than his metal attribute. The MC says he has already seen the boy's trump card and because of that, prepares himself, since he also wants to show his own. With that, he lands a powerful sequence of the 9 Thunder Strikes Fist, which leaves the boy unable to believe how this is possible, but all that remains for him is defeat. The people are in shock for a moment and then celebrate this incredible feat, since they have just witnessed the 9 Thunder Strikes Fist, and it is unbelievable. Chentian admits that he did not imagine that the MC was the genius who had disappeared from the school and who possessed the 9 strikes. On the other hand, the director says he is not just a genius but a colossal dragon. The instructor thinks this is sensational, since when this monster arrives at the elite training camp, the geniuses from influential families will suffer an enormous shock. A golden carp does not belong in a lake. When it encounters the wind and the clouds, it transforms into a dragon. The director says that this time, at the elite training camp, Su Hong will be a dragon rising from the abyss, ready to fly, and the Magic City, as well as the Imperial Capital, will see this monster shine. After all that, already late in the afternoon, the MC returns to his house, and his uncle asks how the exam went. He says that he placed first, and Muram is happy to hear that, since in this way his boy will be able to participate in the training he had mentioned. At that moment, someone knocks on the door. It was a woman shouting, wanting to know if Su-hong lives there. He opens the door asking who she is. The woman says that she is the mother of Lin Nian from his school, and, as he knows, the top 3 of the big exam will go to the training camp. But her son ended up in 4th place, and because of that, she wanted to negotiate his spot. She offers 30,000 coins for him to give up the spot. The 3 of them cannot believe such absurdity, and the woman becomes furious with that reaction and says that the training camp was created to cultivate geniuses who may go to the battlefield in the future, and that it is even a place where people can die. Inside, everyone takes high-level pills until they are sick of them and use high-tier techniques. So with his financial conditions, he will give up halfway through, and because of that, she says it for his own good. His aunt becomes worried and asks if it is really that dangerous. Muram tells her to calm down and asks if he can guarantee his own safety. The MC answers yes without any hesitation, and the woman asks if they will really believe the promise of a child. Muram replies that he obviously believes it, since participating in the training is his decision, and he will believe in that promise. Besides the fact that it makes no sense to believe a random person. After saying that, he closes the door in her face. The woman becomes furious and tells them to wait for elimination at the training camp. Inside, Su-hong comments that he did not hide the danger out of malice, but his uncle says that it is not a problem since he is aware that his nephew studied a lot and understands the training camp better than anyone, and since he has determination, he will face all difficulties. Chin-wei finds that funny and tells them not to get excited since they only need the boy's safety. The MC guarantees that he will stay safe. Later that same night, he goes to the rooftop and imagines that he cannot let his uncle and aunt worry, and because of that, he will never disappoint their expectations. He opens his system and sees that he gained a total of 285 martial points in the more than 10 fights he had in the monthly exam, but it is still not enough. He also does not know which high-level techniques or trump cards the twins at the training camp possess, and, to face them, he will prioritize increasing the strength of his physical body. He puts his points into mortal body until it reaches 64%, and he wonders what will happen when it reaches 100% and whether he will obtain some special physique. Another thing that catches his attention is that the guidance techniques went to level 2, and he does not even know when. That is strange since he only cultivated them for a few days and did nothing else, and he wonders if there are extra conditions for the level to increase. Because of that, he decides that he will try to raise the level once more. The next day at dawn, his guidance techniques advance to level 3, and not only that, but his blood energy also increases by 3 points, and that is a pleasant surprise. Outside, he says goodbye to his uncles, and the two try to motivate him once again, asking him to return home with another first place in his pocket. After saying goodbye, Chin-wei finds it funny that her husband always speaks while trembling with worry, even while disguising it, and he says that he cannot help it since he does not want his nephew to worry. Su-hong continues walking until he looks to the side, and the president of the association appears in a car doing a drift and tells him to get in. They head to the track, and the MC, curious, asks what the president wants with him. Lingxian says that there are some things to warn about regarding the training camp, since, as the president of the association, she had access to the data of some participants. So, from what she learned, among the warriors, there are some monsters who are already level 1 warriors at the high stage and are not far from level 2. In addition, the techniques they possess are at least rank B. The MC is surprised, since a level 2 warrior needs 200 energy points, and apparently, there are already people in the class who are not far from that. Despite that, he is not afraid of rank B techniques, since with his system space he can learn any of them quickly, even rank B ones. She reveals that he is the greatest talent she has ever seen in her life, without exceptions, but he lacks the same resources as the others, and, because of that, even if he suffers some setbacks in the training camp, he will definitely surpass them. He thanks her for such confidence. She is surprised, since even knowing that his blood energy and techniques are inferior to those of the others, he remains extremely calm and apparently she does not need to worry about his mental state. After that, in the school car passing through the Tianlin mountain range, the two boys are startled when they find out where it will be, since it is a place where many ferocious beasts gather. The director asks them not to worry, since the training camp has a grandmaster watching over it and, in general, there will be no risk of death. The MC thinks about that mountain range and that it is gigantic and crosses several cities such as Xingcheng and Yangcheng. Not only is the spiritual energy dense and the ferocious beasts numerous, but there are even beast kings in that place who are comparable to a level 7 grandmaster. The competition among the ferocious beasts is extremely cruel, and even if it is only a level 1 ferocious beast, its ferocity far surpasses that of beasts in other places, to the point that ordinary level 2 warriors would not dare to step into that place easily. They keep entering the forest, and a huge number of monsters appear all the time. They feel that something is watching them, and they wonder if the beasts might attack without warning. Su-hong imagines that the training camp competition will probably be as cruel as the massacre among the beasts, and for some reason, he is liking that feeling. After some time, they arrive at the camp, and Li Tu says that he is curious to know the level of strength of the people present. The warriors stare at them and leave both completely intimidated, except for the MC, who does not lose any of his confidence and tells the two to keep moving forward. An instructor at the site tells them to wait until everyone arrives to begin the admission test. At that moment, someone shouts that a certain group has arrived, and when they look back, they see several cars arriving at the place. People step out of them, and everyone comments that the goddess Xiaoyan is so cool and beautiful that it is enviable. There is also Xinghe from the Lin family, who they heard is already a level 2 warrior. Lastly, the son of the city lord, Tiantuo, is considered a barbarian god who has 95% affinity with fire, in addition to a special physique. They pass through the middle of the crowd until the MC notices their presence and finds it interesting, since they are 3 elite geniuses that the president mentioned, and he is eager to see how genius they really are. The instructor announces that everyone has arrived and therefore he will announce the rules of the admission test. The training camp is located inside the Tianlin mountain range, 30 kilometers from that camp. They will insert medallions inside some ferocious beasts, and they need to carry a medallion to enter the training camp. They will have to travel 30 kilometers in 8 hours, and once they enter the mountain range, it is not known what kind of high-level beasts they will encounter, and in the worst case, they may die. Su-hong cannot believe he will have 8 hours, since it is too simple, and he will have plenty of time to kill as many beasts as possible to gain martial points. One of the warriors asks what he should do if he encounters a beast many levels above him. An instructor says that if he is unlucky, he will be eliminated, but someone will be there to rescue their lives. Everyone becomes upset, thinking this is unfair, since most likely the strong will be eliminated while the weak will pass by luck, since it depends solely on that. The instructor makes it clear that the world does not play house, giving the example of someone who arduously cultivated for 10 years and finally stepped onto the battlefield, only to be crushed by a single punch from a specialist who happened to pass by. In that case, he asks if they will protest that it is unfair. So if they do not want to encounter high-level beasts, they should act cautiously, avoiding all kinds of risks. They can also crush the weak or fight with numerical advantage. One of the warriors agrees, since anyone who fears death should quit immediately so as not to waste everyone else's time. The guy becomes furious when he hears that and tells him to repeat it, since he would love to go after him. The instructor makes it clear that fighting inside the camp is forbidden, but once they enter the mountains, it will not matter anymore. If a medallion is stolen, or someone simply hits another person because he does not like him, there will be no punishment, so everyone can do whatever they want outside the camp. The warriors glare at each other, creating hostility right from the start. The MC observes that the training camp is indeed cruel, since they encourage theft among them, and, with that rule, he believes more than half of the people will be eliminated. Thinking about it more carefully, he concludes that if he ends up fighting everyone, it means he will gain more martial points. The instructor tells them to stop the nonsense talk since the test is about to begin, and orders everyone to leave the camp. Immediately, they run to the gate and head into the forest. The two warriors, who were provoking each other, continue fighting even on the way, until they prepare their fists and start exchanging frantic blows without stopping for a moment. The MC watches from the top of a tree, since he wanted to take the chance to see the combat power of the famous twins. But from what he is seeing, it is nothing special, and even if he defeated them, he probably would not gain many points. Because of that, he decides to hurry and hunt some high-level beasts. The two fighters begin provoking each other, calling each other a poor bastard and a beggar, and this fight catches Su-hong's attention, who becomes irritated and believes he cannot let these martial points pass for free. He arrives interrupting the fight between the two and tells them to play a little with him. The warriors ask if it is some kind of joke, since another poor bastard showed up to bother them, and they want to know what level he has to think he can interfere in someone else's fight. The MC explains that they misunderstood, since what he meant was for them to stop fighting each other and for both of them to fight together against him. Immediately, one of them rushes forward, but the MC lands a knee strike that sends the guy flying like a rocket to the other side of the map. The boy simply cannot believe that a warrior of his level was defeated with just one blow, and he does not know what kind of fast technique that was. In the middle of these thoughts, the MC appears attacking and lands a full strike that almost sends the guy's head flying off. After defeating this guy, he goes to the warriors and tells them not to underestimate ordinary cultivators, since they will regret it. At the same time, in the control center, the instructors who just watched the fight question where the MC came from, since two warriors were in a heated duel and the guy simply shows up and defeats both of them, and they believe they will count two eliminated. Monglong warns that no, since the boys did not request rescue, the test continues. After some time, the two wake up and are startled. Leijun becomes furious since he has never suffered such humiliation in his life. The same goes for Marcus, since if he had not underestimated him, he would never have lost. They stare at each other, and the boy apologizes for the words he said earlier since they were not true. Leijun says it is fine, and both help each other walk since they are willing to help each other with their revenge. Meanwhile, Su-hong moves through the forest until something catches his attention, since in front of him another horde of giant tusk boars appeared, a monster of the initial stage. The boars notice his presence immediately and charge to attack. However, that was exactly what he wanted, and with his 9 thunderclap fist, he starts killing them, one by one, until he has finished them all. The MC becomes annoyed, since before defeating a warrior yielded dozens of martial points, but after leveling up and becoming stronger, the rewards are getting smaller and smaller. He realizes he needs to search for the medallions once and for all, and starts opening one monster after another, since the last 10 level 1 beasts had no medallions, and he is curious if that group has any. As expected, there is no sign of a medallion, and he believes he will only obtain them from stronger monsters. Half an hour later, he continues moving and reflects that after entering the forest, he advanced 3 to 5 kilometers and encountered dozens of low-level beasts per hour, and does not understand why he is not finding any. Just as he thinks that, the monster appears in front of him. He quickly realizes that it is a black tiger of the dark night, a level 1 monster at the final stage. Without wasting time, he uses his technique, Finger, that breaks the void and severely injures the tiger, which falls powerless to the ground. Without giving it time, the MC prepares his spear and thrusts it into the monster, thus obtaining 35 martial points. He realizes that with his current strength, killing a level 1 beast at the final stage is child's play, and while searching the monster, he hopes it at least has a medallion. Luckily, he obtains one since he imagined that high-level monsters would have them, and it took him 3 hours to find that medallion. This makes him reflect that he found initial stage monsters everywhere, but encountering that tiger took much longer, and apparently the deeper he went into the mountain range, the higher the level of the beasts, but the smaller their number. Although the black tiger yields more martial points, he only ends up finding one every half hour. So if he decides to hunt low-level beasts on the outskirts of the mountain range, he will end up gaining more points in the same amount of time. So instead of focusing on quality, he thinks it is better to focus on quantity. Since there are still 5 hours left until the end of the test, he decides that he will gather enough martial points to complete the progress of his mortal body. He carries out a massacre with the monsters, leaving none behind that he finds along the way. From time to time, some stronger ones appear, but he manages to dodge calmly, and while preparing his fist, he imagines that he has fought dozens of level 1 beasts, and finally found another at the middle stage, which with just one simple punch, he was able to launch the bear like a cannonball against a tree, which even while screaming in pain, realizes that the MC is not joking and is finished with another precise blow that even destroys the tree with the impact. He reflects that his mortal body has reached 60%, and he can kill middle stage beasts using only his physical strength. Currently, he has 254 points and needs a little more than 100 to complete the progress of the mortal body. Since he knows that only 3 hours remain, he decides to hurry to gather those points. Suddenly, a loud roar echoes through the forest, and he is startled since he does not know what that sound was, until a giant bird appears flying, and he wonders if it might be the legendary king of beasts, the Golden Peng. The monster flaps its wings, causing a colossal windstorm that leaves the MC surprised, since the power of a king of beasts is truly overwhelming. Some trees are destroyed, and the MC tries to protect himself, imagining what kind of ferocious beast that is. He admits that recently he had been a little arrogant regarding his own strength, but facing that top-tier monster, he realizes he is nothing more than an ant. Only then something catches his attention when he sees someone approaching the monster while flying. This is the level 7 Grandmaster, Tianli, who tells the King of Beasts that he borrowed that territory and therefore does not know what the monster is doing there. Peng, who is the golden bird, replies that he never said he would lend it to anyone. The Grandmaster makes it clear that he will have to beat the bird until it agrees and lands a direct punch that makes Peng scream from the impact. He tells it to stop making noise and begins unleashing a huge combo across the monster's entire body. Then, he once again tells the King of Birds to get out of that place since the territory is being used by him. The monster, even though furious, flies away but warns that it will get revenge someday. Tianli takes a deep breath and shouts to everyone in the forest that he is the level 7 Grandmaster responsible for taking care of the camp and therefore they do not need to panic since the test continues. The MC is surprised since that is the power of someone at level 7, but he knows that sooner or later, he will have to reach that level. Tianli returns to the camp and comments to the supervisors that he only borrowed the territory from the Golden Wing Peng and believed it would be easier if the monster had simply accepted it, but in the end, he had to beat it up. Baimu, who is a level 5 warrior, says he expected nothing less from a Grandmaster since he is as strong as the rumors say. Lins, who is also a level 5 warrior, agrees, since the King of Beasts, who is famous for having an indestructible body, was subdued without mercy. Tianli tells them to stop the flattery and orders them to follow him to the monitoring room since he wants to see who managed to withstand the pressure of the King of Beasts. After arriving in the monitoring room, the assistants say that those are the monitoring recordings and most of the students cannot move under the pressure of the bird. The old man sees that a genius killed a group of black tigers at the final stage and still resisted the pressure of Peng with ease, so he wants to know his name. His assistant says his name is Tian Tuo, level 1 at the final stage. He has 340 energy and a 95% affinity with fire. He possesses the special physique barbarian god body and has superhuman strength besides being the son of the city lord. The Grandmaster recalls that the city lord treated having children like a lottery and even had more than 100 until finally one turned out well. Then he asks about another boy he saw managing to escape the pressure of the King of Beasts using a refined movement technique. Baimu explains that he is Xinghe. He is at level 1 in the final stage. He has 325 energy and 96% affinity with wind, besides being from the Xingcheng family. Lastly, he notices a girl with enormous mental power, since she managed to use her mental strength to nullify Peng's pressure. She explains that she is Xiaoyan. She has 290 energy and 95% affinity with the wood element. The old man finds the geniuses of that year interesting since 3 of them managed to deal with the pressure of the King of Monsters with ease, and he wonders if there might be another talent. She says there are a few more, and, after mentioning the 10 she has in mind, says they are the only ones who possess at least mid-stage strength and did not lose consciousness under Peng's pressure. The old man realizes they are all children of influential families and asks about the students from the first school. She says Those students are still at level 1 in the first stage, and 3 of them advance to the camp, but they are nothing special. He tells her to forget about them, since he does not want to waste time with a school that has the reputation of being nothing special. At that moment, Lin shouts that something is wrong with another student and points at the MC, saying the boy just passed through the pressure of the King of Beasts and still has plenty of energy to keep hunting. Baimu reads about Su Hong and, completely startled, says he is the monster from the first school. Her partner grabs the report and tells her not to scare the Grandmaster with this monster talk, but he also becomes shocked when reading about the MC. The old man decides to look as well, since he does not understand why 2 level 5 warriors are so startled by a mere level 1. After all, they have already witnessed all kinds of monsters. However, he is even more shocked and questions whether the boy is truly human. This is because the report states that the MC has 100% affinity with all attributes and also possesses a special physique, and he does not know if another monster like this exists in the world. The old man becomes extremely excited, since it makes no sense for such a monster to appear in a small city, as he is a genius that appears once every millennium. He realizes that he has finally found a treasure, but stops to reflect since the MC is only level 1 and has 123 energy, which makes no sense. Baimu, a bit embarrassed, reveals that the boy is cultivating the 7 techniques simultaneously, and because of that, his energy barely rises. He becomes furious when hearing this, since it explains why his blood energy is not rising. After all, not even a god could accomplish such a feat, and he does not understand what the association president is doing, since apparently she did not properly explain things to the boy. At that moment, an instructor reports that some students have returned to the camp, and when he goes outside, he notices that the 3 geniuses arrived together. 6 hours after the beginning of the test, more students arrive even though they are completely exhausted. 7.5 hours later, everyone is restless, asking to end the test soon since they are certain no one else will appear after so much time. The Grandmaster wonders where the MC monster is since he has not appeared yet, and he does not want to lose such a precious treasure even in his dreams. Only then does he feel relieved when he spots him. Su Hong, completely exhausted, thinks he made it and was so focused on gaining points that he almost forgot about the time. He enters the camp and the warriors cannot believe how dirty he is and cannot even imagine how many beasts he killed to end up in that state. The 2 guys who got beaten by him become excited since they want revenge, although Marcus tells them to calm down, since once they enter the training field, they will have many ways to teach him a lesson. The 3 geniuses realize that the MC passed in last place and is probably an interesting specialist. The instructor announces that the 8-hour time is over, and whoever has not arrived by now will be eliminated from the test. And the next step is to present the camp's facilities and rules. He informs them that the camp has several important facilities, namely the gravity training room, the movement training room, the ferocious beast laboratories, and the martial techniques pavilion. In the pavilion, they can exchange for martial techniques, movement techniques, pills, and weapons, and the highest level reaches rank A. MC hears this, and soon realizes that his decision to go to the camp is proving to be more and more worthwhile. Linz warns that, in order to use all the facilities, they will need enough contribution points, and there is only one way to obtain them, which is through each training subject. Basically, excellent performance guarantees extra rewards, and, since it is late, he says that whoever wants to train can go, and the injured students must accompany him to the dormitory, since they cannot allow them to die for no reason. MC goes to his room and feels relieved that it is a single room, since in the future, when he cultivates and levels up, he will not have to worry about disturbances. He opens his system, since the moment has finally arrived, because he has 354 martial points and will complete the mortal body. He begins to distribute the points until the evolution of the mortal body reaches 100% and his body prepares for this evolution. The power begins to spread throughout his entire body until the enormous pressure gradually dissipates until it completely calms down. He finds it incredible, since just an explosion of physical power already has such strength, and he reads in the system that the talent obtained was the supreme body, a resistance with the greatest physical strength among all bodies in the world. He admits that he has never heard of it, and also notices that the spiritual grade is at 0%, which means that the Supreme Body can still level up and will probably be extremely challenging. He cannot hold back his excitement since he needs to test exactly how great the strength of that Supreme Body is. He picks up his spear to go test it, but is startled when he sees that the weapon is made of rank C alloy, and just by holding it, he almost broke the metal, and he becomes worried since they are very expensive, and he even spent a fortune. Only then does he remember that, in fact, he found that spear in the middle of the forest, and, from that moment on, he will gather contribution points as quickly as possible to exchange it for a rank A spear. He puts on his jacket, imagining that he will earn contribution points just by using a weighted vest, and wonders how many hundreds of kilos he will be able to endure. He goes to the warehouse, and people are simply impressed, since Tiantuo endured 3.000 kilos and even said it felt light, managing to jump with ease. Xiaoyan comments that Tiantuo's strength is definitely equal to that of a monster. The supervisors are observing from the monitoring room and say that they expected nothing less from a great genius, since he managed to carry 3.000 kilos with ease. Baimu, intrigued, asks when they will speak in detail with MC about him cultivating 7 guidance techniques simultaneously. The old man says they cannot be so direct, since geniuses have strong pride, and speaking directly will only cause the opposite effect, and they will have to use some methods to make the boy give up on his own. Then, he asks if the warriors organized for the night attack have already gathered. His assistant says it will take some time, since organizing people to match the strength of each student is a bit complicated, and excited, says that they have just finished the test and must have their guard down, and when they suffer a surprise night attack, they will fall into despair. The old man agrees and orders them to prepare a level 1 warrior in the final stage for MC, since he wants to see the boy crushed and defeated before explaining the disadvantages of cultivating 7 techniques at the same time. His assistants are shocked by this, since the blood energy of a level 1 warrior in the final stage exceeds 400 points, and the combat power is above 5.000, while Su Hong's blood energy is only 100, and they wonder if it is not too dangerous and could end up destroying the boy's conviction. He replies that this is nonsense, since he is only correcting his mistake, and if his conviction is destroyed that easily, then he is nothing but trash. Meanwhile, outside, everyone is commenting that the genius Tiantuo will train in the gravity room, and because of that, everyone runs there just to see it. Su Hong arrives to do the weight test and sees that the room is empty. He picks up the so-called smart bracelet that calculates the points and goes to where the weights are. He notices that the heaviest one reaches 10 tons and is made of super heavy alloy, and he cannot imagine who could move that. He picks it up just to test and realizes that it is far too heavy, and although it would even be possible to wear it, it would greatly harm his speed and he would not be able to endure it for long. He decides to take the 5-ton one and tests it by jumping in every direction. After testing it, he realizes that currently it is the most suitable weight for him to move normally, and he starts imagining what weight the trio of super geniuses used, since they are at level 1 in the final stage and might even be a little stronger. In any case, he puts his clothes back on since he also wants to observe their training to learn something. Everyone is gathered, surprised, since Tiantuo entered the gravity room without even removing his 3-ton vest and even set the gravity to 2 times, which is absurd since he is under pressure as if it were 6 tons. Only then does the MC realize that Tiantuo's weight is only 3 tons, and apparently he had the wrong idea about the boy. At that moment, he sees the other 2 students from his school and asks if they will not train in the gravity room. They reply that the people there are far too strong and they are falling too far behind, and that if they entered the room, they would only embarrass themselves. The MC tells them not to say that and goes to the room. His friends ask if he is not afraid of embarrassing himself. The same goes for the other warriors who point out that the MC is a clueless guy and that he probably is not even wearing a weighted suit and wants to try to surpass Tiantuo by multiplying the gravity. Su Hong enters the room since he knows that a gravity room costs a fortune and only influential families could afford one, and therefore he cannot let this opportunity pass. Inside, he reflects that he is wearing a vest of 5,000 kilos, and if he doubles the gravity, It would be as if he were wearing a vest of 10 tons, and he would only endure it for a few minutes. Because of that, he sets it to 1.5, since that way, he will be able to endure it for longer. However, he feels his body becoming extremely heavy. People begin to mock him while watching through the big screen and say that he set the gravity to only 1.5 and is not even wearing a vest, and that he definitely is nothing more than a weakling. The MC begins to meditate, thinking that he could expect nothing less from such an expensive gravity room, since the difficulty of cultivating the guidance techniques increased a lot, but the cultivation speed accelerated drastically. 2 hours later, he continues meditating but is completely exhausted. He notices that except for the thunder and flame techniques, all the others have increased 1 level, and his blood energy increased from 126 to 130 points. He turns off the device since he is confident that the movement room and the ferocious beasts room must be just as incredible as the gravity room. He leaves the room completely exhausted, and some warriors, seeing this, say that the last place finally came out, and since he is not wearing a weighted suit, it is pathetic for him to be sweating under a gravity of 1.5. However, he removes his shirt since the weighted vest has terrible ventilation and is making him die from the heat. Only then do the two boys enter a state of shock when they see that Su-hong is actually wearing a 5,000 vest and that he was even using it inside the gravity room. They believe they saw it wrong and think about asking how many kilos it actually has. His friend says that, judging by the fact that he finished in last place, he believes it is actually a weight of 500 kilos and not 5,000, and it was something so heavy that it felt like torture. But even so, it shows that the MC is not that weak. They say that one way or another he does not compare to Tiantuo at all. At that moment, everyone starts shouting that Tiantuo is leaving the room with 6 tons of pressure and endured it for 2 hours. They think this is insane, since the guy's physical resistance is definitely that of number 1 in the training camp, and if it were them, they themselves would barely be able to handle 500 kilos. The genius throws the weight on the ground, which falls with such force that it leaves everyone in the camp shocked by that weight. Tiantuo feels relieved, since he now feels light again. His partner admits that he cannot compare in strength and calls him to go to the movement techniques room to compare there. Tiantuo tells him to stop joking, since the guy is a practitioner of rank A movement techniques, in addition to having the wind attribute, so it would be idiotic to try to compare. Su-hong hears about this rank A movement technique and finds it interesting, since even having the supreme body, he is interested in a movement technique of such a high level. Everyone goes to the place and is surprised by Xinghe, since the guy is at level 10, while they themselves can barely reach level 3. The white-haired genius is so fast that their eyes can barely follow for a second, and he still has energy to show off, since petals of flowers are coming out from somewhere, and they have no idea why. The MC immediately copies the steps of the ascending Hong and analyzes them every second. Then, he begins to walk toward the machine, which draws everyone's attention. The MC starts dodging the lasers, and people cannot believe that he, just by watching, managed to copy Xinghe's movements, and they cannot believe it is possible to copy a rank A technique so easily. Su-hong, inside his system, is repeating the movement he witnessed hundreds of times and increasing his proficiency more and more until he finally manages to obtain the ascending Hong steps at beginner level. He feels relieved, since he now has his first rank A ability, but he found Xinghe's movements very extravagant and embarrassing, and he had never seen that technique being performed in a normal way, so he had to copy it exactly. Having learned the technique, he knows he no longer needs to train in the movement room, since he can go straight to the ferocious beast room to gain martial points and increase his blood energy. However, he is startled without understanding why people are looking at him, and the crowd says that the pose he made was incredibly flashy and that he really copied Xinghe's technique. He simply cannot believe that he was doing all those movements in the real world as well as inside the system. Because of this, he runs away like a cannonball, since everyone is begging him to keep doing that movement, and at that moment, he realizes he is being followed. This is because the duo he defeated has finally found him seeking revenge and noticed that he is going to the ferocious beasts room, so they believe they should go as well to beat him up when he comes out. In the ferocious beasts room, several warriors are gathered. Tiantuo asks if Xiaoyan really wants to compete to see who kills more ferocious beasts, and she replies that she just wants to know which of them is number one in the training camp. He asks her not to believe that spiritual mental power can defeat the body of the wild god, since that would be underestimating it too much. She retorts that actually he is the one underestimating others. The MC watches and finds it interesting to see a spiritual mind master, since he has never seen one fight in person and believes it is better to watch first, since he can kill the beast later to gain points. On the big screen, he sees her flying, and this surprises Su Hong, since techniques that allow walking in the air are only used by great masters, and now he understands her specialty. She gathers energy in her hand and fires countless lasers that finish off all the supreme level beasts, and the MC finds this incredible, since in moments, she killed 3 black tigers of level 1 at the maximum stage. But he is curious about those rays of light. At that moment, another much larger tiger attacks from behind, but she simply paralyzes it in the air, making Su Hong understand that spiritual force can control and throw enemies by force. She uses her laser once more to kill the monster, and only then he understands that the rays of light are actually daggers. The MC trembles with excitement at so many different abilities he witnessed and knows it is no wonder that every spiritual master is absurdly strong, since they can easily crush ordinary warriors. Suddenly, everyone shouts, questioning what giant sword is that they are seeing. This is because Xiaoyan materialized a giant sword in front of the black python, and with just one movement cuts the monster in half as if cutting butter. The MC is shocked by such power, since he was sure the girl did not have a weapon and that it must weigh several tons. Xinghe approaches the crowd and says that this is the exclusive martial ability of spiritual mind masters, which is also rank A. Everyone shouts that they have never heard of a martial ability exclusive to spiritual mind masters, and, to make it worse, it is another rank A technique. They soon deduce that Tiantuo must also have a technique of this level. He replies that obviously the guy has it too. The MC gets excited about this, since all 3 geniuses have rank A techniques, and he is even more certain that it was the best decision of his life to appear at that training camp. Tiantuo also goes on killing the ferocious beasts, but even killing with one punch, they realize he is using only ordinary physical strength. Su Hong reflects that the guy has no intention of using his martial ability at that moment and decides to learn it later, since now he only wants to become a spiritual mind master. But his spirit is still at 26, and as far as he knows, it is necessary to have more than 100 spirit points to become a master. He becomes more and more motivated, since he is eager to gain the remaining 73 points, and will kill as many monsters as possible. The duo of bullies seeking revenge sees the MC entering the monsters room and decides to follow, since no one is paying attention because they are focused on Tiantuo's screen, and it is the perfect chance to beat the MC. However, they are shocked, since in the room where Su Hong is, he is doing something impossible to imagine. The boys ask if he really wants to kill himself, since he is challenging a dozen ferocious beasts at the same time, and all of them are at the upper stage of level 1, and this is complete insanity. They ask if they shouldn't call the instructor to save him, since the MC is going to die in seconds, and they lament because they won't be able to get their revenge. Su Hong orders them to begin, and the monsters all charge at the same time. He dodges the first attack and, without hesitation, fires his laser, finishing off 2 monsters at once. Then, he starts attacking all the others around him. The 2 boys remain shocked, since as far as they know, an initial stage warrior shouldn't be able to do that, and they notice that the technique he is using seems familiar. Only then do they conclude that it is the cloud steps of Xinghe. The boy finds this impossible, since the MC is a student from the first school and shouldn't have access to such a high-rank movement, and they wonder if he learned it just by watching a genius perform it. His friend tells him to forget about revenge, since the 2 of them together probably wouldn't stand a chance against the MC, but Li Jun rejects the idea, saying he doesn't care whether the MC comes from a great family or not, since he can't swallow this humiliation. However, this doesn't last long, as the boy tells him to look ahead, and when they do, they are left in shock, because the MC managed to kill 11 final stage beasts in that short time. Su Hong realizes he has earned 81 points, since the average per creature is 7 points, and apparently the stronger he gets, the harder it becomes to earn points. He looks to the side and notices more creatures approaching, so he decides to get up since he doesn't have time to rest. The monsters attack, but he activates his flaming fist and starts striking all of them. After that, more monsters approach, and he becomes increasingly excited, wanting martial points. Because of that, he keeps advancing, killing more and more monsters to score points. Meanwhile, the two boys watch everything, and Leijun admits that hatred leads nowhere, so he has decided to forget about revenge. They move to another place, where people are surprised that Tiantuo and Xiaoyan crushed between 8 and 9 final stage monsters. At that moment, another boy appears asking if they managed to get the revenge they wanted. The two, frightened, say yes, but internally they are sweating cold, since if they hadn't been clever, they would be lying on the ground like dead dogs. And they realize that the training field is absurd, since it is full of ridiculous monsters. Suddenly, the two geniuses leave the training room. Tiantuo says he scored 280 points, while Xiaoyan scored 270 points. Everyone is impressed, since each final stage monster is worth about 5 contribution points. Tiantuo complains about having gained only 100 points from using the weighted vest. His friend says the same, since she only got 50 extra points. Everyone remains shocked at how incredible the geniuses are, and they know that all that remains is to fight for 4th place. Meanwhile, the two boys continue watching from afar, as they think everyone there is a bunch of fools, since there is a more terrifying monster in that training field that surpasses the 3 geniuses. An hour later, the MC finishes his massacre. He sighs in relief and thinks that hunting ferocious beasts for over an hour has left his body very tired, and to make matters worse, he is still far from the required 735 martial points. At least, he managed to get 700 contribution points and wonders what he can exchange at the martial arts pavilion. Just the points from the weight he used increased by 300 points. With that in mind, he goes to the martial techniques pavilion and, after checking the book, sees how many points each type of pill costs, as well as the cost of martial techniques. Rank A techniques are very expensive, since the cheapest one costs 2,000 points, and the prices of the pills are reasonable. The clerk asks if he will take anything, but she soon assumes that he looks like an initial stage warrior and probably cannot afford anything. The MC asks about the spiritual concentration pill, and she explains exactly how it works. He notes that the maximum level of spiritual concentration pills is 4 and costs 500 contribution points. With that said, he asks for the maximum level pill, which leaves her completely shocked. She tries to explain that it costs 500 points, but he replies that it's not a problem. She cannot believe that there is a warrior with 700 contribution points in that camp so early, and still indignant, she hands over the product. He thanks her and asks if they have any alloy spear with dual lightning and fire attributes. The girl, no longer surprised, simply says yes and thanks him for his patronage. After returning to the dormitory, he stores his weapons on the wall and analyzes his attributes, since his growth in just one day was greater than an entire week in the past. Now his spirit points are almost at 100, and he hopes the pill will provide the 25 points he is missing. So without hesitation, he consumes it, determined to become a mental master. The pill enters his body, and at that moment, it begins to take effect. He feels his exhausted nerves relax, and the sensation is pleasant. His brain also becomes extremely clear, and he can feel everything around him. He opens his eyes and realizes that he gained 24 spirit points. Added to his previous 50.5 points, he is now at 99.5%. He regrets it, since if he had known, he would have killed more ferocious beasts. Since there is not much he can do, he decides to rest, as he can collect more points the next day. After that, at the training field, several warriors are gathered. One of them asks Jing Feng if he wasn't cultivating at the martial arts university, and if he stopped just to serve a bunch of geniuses. He tells him to shut up, saying that if he were still in high school, none of the boys in that room would have the right to be his training partners. The big guy shows that he is responsible for Tiantuo, who has 340 blood points. The other two also boast, since they got 2 geniuses with blood points above 300. Jing Feng cannot believe how everyone got such strong students. while his is the MC at the initial stage with only 123 blood points. The warriors also find it hard to believe, since Jingfeng's strength is the greatest among all present, and they wonder if the Grandmaster made a mistake. At that moment, Tianli enters the room and states that there was no mistake. The mohawk-haired one apologizes and comments that the MC is just trash at the initial stage. The Grandmaster tells them not to underestimate him, since his combat strength is comparable to that of a high stage. The three simply cannot believe this absurdity, since there is no one with 123 blood points comparable to a high stage. The Grandmaster reinforces that part of the information about Su Hong is confidential, so it is not on the file, and only when they fight one-on-one will they understand. Jingfeng takes a deep breath, since he has 500 blood points, and cannot believe he will have to intimidate a rookie with 123 points. Tianli slaps him, saying that if he ordered him to fight, then he should do it without complaining, and that he should fight with everything he has, since he must make the MC question his own existence. The mohawk-haired one, still confused, asks if the Grandmaster is holding a grudge against the student, and even says he won't be responsible if he cripples him. He finds this exciting, since he can beat him to death, and even if he cripples him, he will receive a great reward. The boy is frightened by this terrifying laughter, and immediately everyone heads toward their targets. At night, each high-level warrior hunts their target student, and the camp turns into chaos, since no one understands what is happening. The MC wakes up imagining that a surprise attack is happening, and at that moment, someone attacks his door. It was Jingfeng who, upon entering the room, strikes the bed directly, forcing Su Hong to jump. He imagines that he has heard that the countless races usually hunt human twins to weaken their forces, and considers if that is the case. He grabs his spear and prepares himself, since he does not know his opponent's level. Jingfeng laments, because his target is indeed an initial stage, and the MC is startled since the guy is a high-level warrior and not a shape-shifting monster. However, he finds this amazing, because if he manages to defeat him, he will gain the last 5 martial points needed to become a mental master. Jingfeng cannot believe that not only did the MC not run away, but he also chose to counterattack and thinks this is madness. He defends the attack, and immediately the warrior realizes that his target's combat power matches a high stage, and the Grandmaster definitely did not lie. However, the strength is even higher than he imagined, and he cannot believe that someone of grade 1 could be so strong. Su Hong thinks that his opponent is just a high-stage warrior, and it is not like he has never faced one before. He lands his first attack, and even while defending, Jingfeng fully feels the pressure. However, he knows that a battle between warriors is not just about who has more physical strength. The MC is pleased since he will witness a martial technique of the fire attribute, and it is the first time he sees one. The boy prepares himself and leaps with his rank B technique, wanting to see what they will do against it. The MC prepares himself, since that attack is far superior to the Void Devastating Finger. After repelling the attack, Jingfeng is thrown violently against the wall, and after recovering, he cannot believe that the MC blocked his blow just by manifesting thunder, and his talent is extremely terrifying, making the Grandmaster's admiration for the boy even more understandable. Jingfeng comments that it is indeed a pity that his target does not know any spear technique of the thunder attribute, since otherwise it would be a much more difficult fight. Su Hong replies that he indeed does not know any such technique, but decides to add the fire attribute to even things out, and becomes enveloped in the mixed power of thunder and fire. The warrior simply cannot accept what he is seeing, since someone fused 2 attributes, something that should be impossible. He cannot accept this, since attributes repel each other, and it is a truth that every warrior knows. He starts to break into a cold sweat, since attribute fusion, especially thunder and fire, was only a legend. The MC wastes no time and advances, and Jingfeng, with little way to react, uses his blazing flames. But the spear repels the attack, and to make matters worse, fires a powerful thunder blast that causes absurd damage to Jingfeng, to the point he considers this power ridiculous. The attack was so strong that it made a hole in the wall that threw him far away. With this victory, the MC gains 7 martial points, and he celebrates, since now he has the necessary points to become a mental master. A few seconds earlier, near the dormitory, the Grandmaster was with his assistant, He says that Su Hong has probably already been defeated, and even prepared several arguments to convince him to give up cultivating so many different orientation techniques. However, in the next second, Jing Feng appears being thrown out of the dormitory and, on top of that, falls right in front of them, completely defeated. The two cannot believe what they are seeing, especially Baimu, who does not understand how this happened. To make things worse, 3 other warriors are thrown out and all fall in front of them. It was the trio responsible for defeating the geniuses, but they were completely useless. The 3 students go to the hole in the wall to ask the Grandmaster to send stronger warriors next time. However, Tiantuo notices that there are 4 bodies on the ground, and the girl wonders if someone managed to defeat a warrior faster than them. Xinghe comments that it is probably a weak warrior who was defeated very quickly by someone random. Baimu is outraged by these comments, since Jing Feng is the strongest among the 4. The Grandmaster analyzes the situation, since he can understand the trio of geniuses winning because they are at the final stage. But the MC, who is at the initial stage, defeating a grade 2 faster than all the others is madness. He tries to imagine how he did it, and whether he has a high-level technique or an elite physique. At that moment, Linz appears shouting that something serious has happened. Tianli interrupts, since he does not want to know if any student died, because it is normal for some to die. He replies that no, and that in fact it is about the MC, since he used attribute fusion against Jing Feng. The Grandmaster, distracted, says that this is nothing to admire until he takes a deep breath and becomes ecstatic, since from what he understood, something absurd beyond reality was said. Linz explains that Su Hong indeed fused the orientation techniques of thunder and fire attributes and thus defeated Jing Feng. He even clearly saw it through the cameras, and if they do not believe it, they can ask the warrior. At that same moment, Jing Feng wakes up and confirms everything that was said. The Grandmaster remains indignant, since the only genius of the human race spent 10 years researching fusion and still failed, and he cannot believe that a mere student surpassed that. He becomes excited, since it is like a divine star falling from the sky. His assistant asks if the fusion of 2 attributes is really that strong, to the point of defeating someone many levels above. The old man confirms, since the genius who researched fusion, even incomplete, also managed to defeat a grade 2 while being grade 1. She tries to understand why this type of cultivation is not encouraged nowadays. If the combat power is so absurd, and even being difficult, there is still a chance for the fusion to work. He explains that many people tried in the past, but discovered that attribute fusion is not only extremely difficult, but also has a huge chance of ruining the cultivator. However, what happened with Su Hong is an exception, since he achieved this in less than a month. And to make it even better, he obtained the 7 attributes, and they cannot even imagine the level of that. If such a monster truly grows, he would be capable of knocking out the emperors of the countless races with a single blow. Linz asks him not to get carried away since he is exaggerating, because fusing just 2 is almost impossible, let alone 7 attributes. The old man apologizes for his excitement. Suddenly, Linz shouts that there was something else to say, since the MC also has a special physique, as his strength also crushed Jing Feng. The old man cannot believe he did not mention something so important before. They find it strange how someone with 120 blood energy points crushed someone with 500, since it is something beyond reality. Tianli says that the next day he will organize a duel, since he wants to test Su Hong's combat strength and blood energy in all aspects, and will even have him fight Tiantuo. After all, he wants to see the result of a monster facing the strongest genius of that camp. The MC goes to the hole in his room and sits down to check the system. He decides to add all his martial points into spirit at once, and after distributing the points, he becomes excited since he will finally become a mental master. He feels a wonderful sensation, and it is as if he had suddenly grown a 3rd arm, although it is a bit strange and bizarre. His spirit points surpassed 100%, and looking back, he decides to do a test. His bed rises off the ground, as do all the furniture in his room, since he can manipulate objects and also walk in the air. His next objective is to learn the rank A technique that Xiaoyan possesses, as well as Tiantuo's offensive technique. After that, the following morning, it is announced for everyone to gather in 1 minute, and each second of delay will cost contribution points. Immediately, all the students run out and gather at the designated location. The MC starts wondering what will happen. The instructor positions himself, praising them for not being late, since after being beaten so badly, he thought they would not even be able to get up. Some people complain, saying they could have defeated the warriors the previous night, but were caught off guard and did not even manage to put on their underwear. The instructor, irritated, questions whether, if the person who attacked had been an assassin from the thousands of races, they would wait to put on underwear. Marcus feels embarrassed, and his friend starts teasing him, just like everyone present. Su-hong reflects that, in fact, a real battle does not wait for you to be ready or not, and understands the people who are frustrated, since it was a tiring night. Lin says he will give everyone a chance, as they will carry out a complete test involving blood energy, combat power, spirit, physical strength, speed, and even the level of mastery of martial techniques. After the test, they will make an overall combat ranking, and the 10 best students will receive daily rewards in contribution points. Everyone already knows that the top 3 will be the trio of geniuses. As for the MC, he is only intrigued about what the reward for first place will be. Linz tells everyone to be quiet so they can go to the test location. They go to the temporary testing field, where there is a grade 2 strength meter. The Grandmaster observes that, in fact, Su-hong hides very well among the crowd, not drawing anyone's attention. One of the boys gets full of himself, thinking the Grandmaster is looking in his direction, but the MC knows this is a misunderstanding, as he is aware that the old man is actually looking at him. Tianli announces that he decided at the last minute that whoever ranks first in the overall score will receive, as a bonus, a rank A martial or movement technique. Everyone is surprised by the generosity, but they lament, as the prize will go to Tiantuo. The genius finds it interesting, since rank A techniques are difficult to obtain, as even influential families only have a few. Xiaoyan is excited about the possibility of choosing any technique, just like Xinghe, since he wants a skill that matches his Cloud Steps technique. The MC realizes that this time he will not be able to hold back, as he needs another rank A technique. The Grandmaster likes his gaze, as he wants to see how strong a young talent can become, and announces that the first fight will be Xinghe's, the second Xiaoyan's, and the third Tiantuo's. The students are surprised, as the test will start with the top 3, and no one else will have the courage to go, as they do not even want to imagine who the 4th member will be. Just as they think that, the old man points out that the MC is the 4th. As he suspected, he realizes that the Grandmaster has his eyes on him. The members of his school question whether he somehow offended the Grandmaster, since he had very bad luck. The others think it is absurd to place the 3 strongest first and then the weakest. Believing that this must be some kind of motivation for the other students, they move on to the first test, which is physical strength, and the cloud-haired comments that this test is not his strong point. He throws his punch at maximum power and scores 4,013 points. Everyone is surprised, as a score of 4,000 without any technique is incredible. The MC imagines that, if Xinghe can use a rank A movement technique, then his attack techniques must not be bad. Being at least rank B, the boy attacks again, using the hidden Cloud Gale Fist, and this time scores 5,642 points. The students are terrified, as this score is standard for a grade 2 warrior, and this coming from someone who claims physical strength is his weakness. Just by seeing the technique, the MC managed to copy it, but thought it was little that the score only increased by 1,600. Xiaoyan prepares for the test and scores 3,253 points. Su-hong knows it is normal for a mental master to be weak in physical strength, since what matters is spirit. She takes a deep breath and activates her attack technique, and once again, the MC copies the ability, finding it incredible how the training field is fantastic for acquiring skills. He wonders how many techniques he will manage to learn that day. The girl prepares and strikes the machine with her ability, achieving 5,942 points. The crowd is surprised, as it is a higher score than Xinghe's, and compared to the normal attack, it almost doubled the score. Meanwhile, the MC continues meditating, as within his space he is practicing the technique he just learned. After practicing for a while, he realizes that the ability can materialize anything, not just weapons, but even chairs, benches, or fierce beasts. However, the more solid the materialization, the more mental strength it consumes. With his current strength, it seems difficult to learn the ability immediately, so he decides to learn it slowly, since Tiantuo will enter soon and he needs to see his martial technique. The genius prepares, while everyone celebrates that the barbarian god will show what he is capable of with his overwhelming strength. Su Hong wonders what the difference is between her sovereign body and the body of the boy called the barbarian god. Tiantuo prepares, as he wants to show the gap between everyone, and delivers a powerful punch to the machine, leaving everyone shocked, as the machine almost could not withstand such force. The Grandmaster praises him, and the genius thanks him, saying he will proceed with the martial technique. The MC is happy, as he will finally see Tiantuo's offensive technique. The genius gathers energy in his hand and prepares to attack. Tianli is surprised, as that is the Infernal Bone Flame Fist. Su Hong immediately learns the technique, and as far as she remembers, it was in the Martial Pavilion, costing 2,800 contribution points. Tiantuo does not hold back and delivers a powerful punch to the machine, achieving 7,534 points. It is enough to leave everyone in ecstasy, as it is a higher score even than Elite Grade 2 warriors. Once again, the Grandmaster praises him, and the boy thanks him for such words. The old man tells the MC to step forward for the test, and everyone starts mocking him, saying it is absurd to send trash to take the test right after 3 legends achieved the highest possible scores. The old man warns that first, he must use only a punch with pure physical strength, without any martial art. He says that is fine, and after preparing himself, takes a deep breath and advances, as he is determined to receive this reward. His punch is so strong that it explodes the place, and his score is 6,551. The Grandmaster realizes he underestimated the boy far too much, as his strength is monstrous. The students are in shock at this score and begin to shout, questioning whether the strength meter is broken, since, as far as they know, the MC was the weakest, and there should not be anyone who could surpass the geniuses in brute strength. Xiaoyan admits she is impressed, as does the cloud-haired, who thinks this score is impossible for a level 1 warrior. Tiantuo agrees and even believes that he himself was too arrogant. The MC asks if he can proceed to the martial technique. The old man replies yes, and he takes his position. Then the mastery percentage of the ability he copied begins to rise. He knows that the Infernal Bone Flame Fist suits his style better, and therefore continues evolving without stopping. Meanwhile, Lin's comments to the Grandmaster that the MC comes from an ordinary family, so he will not possess high-level techniques. He agrees, as he does not expect to see anything of high rank anyway. The MC finally reaches 100% in his ability, reaching the beginner level. The people, seeing the power in his hand, shout whether it is not Tiantuo's ability and have no idea how the MC obtained it. He prepares himself, as he wants to see his offensive power using a rank A technique, and punches so hard that the entire hall trembles. The students ask if this is ridiculous, since it made the whole hall shake, and upon seeing the result of 9,013 points, they are in shock, as it is the standard for a high-level grade 2. Linz cannot accept how monstrous Su Hong is, considering he is at the initial stage with 123 blood energy points, and that makes no sense. The 3 geniuses do not accept what they are seeing, as 9,000 points is too high even for a grade 2, and they believe that he is hiding his true blood energy points, possibly exceeding 500. However, the MC takes the next test, and his blood energy only rises to 137, and they find this ridiculous, as it is impossible for someone to be so strong with so few points. Su Hong leaves the testing machine, and the Grandmaster asks everyone to be quiet, as they will proceed to the real combat test, since they need to evaluate the dual ranking in combat. He announces that the competition will be by challenge system, so they can choose their opponent. When no one else dares to challenge him, he will be the first to receive the rank A technique as a reward. Without hesitation, Xinghe calls the old man and says he wants to challenge Su Hong. He imagines that although the MC's combat strength is considered invincible, his blood energy is far too low, so he only needs to use his movement technique to dodge the attacks. However, the old man rejects the duel. He does not understand why until the Grandmaster announces that the 3 can go together against Su Hong. This makes the trio of geniuses furious, as apparently they are being greatly underestimated. The old man asks what the MC thinks, and he says he has no objection. They ask to prepare, as they will shove that arrogance down his throat. The instructor orders the start immediately, and the three advance with everything. Xinghe imagines that he will unleash a gale fist and then retreat, and when the boy is occupied, he will attack from the flanks, since with his speed, no one can react. However, his two friends shout for him to be careful, as in the blink of an eye, the MC appears behind him, and without holding back, attacks aiming at his face. However, the boy manages to dodge in time, and thanks his companions, reinforcing that apparently Su Hong's speed is not normal, and therefore they must be careful. Su Hong feels his body strange and knows it is mental force, as it is the first time he has felt this sensation, and it is quite uncomfortable. Knowing this, he decides that his next target will be the girl, and moves at high speed using the rank A technique. She cannot believe that she is witnessing the cloud stepping technique. The other two consider that perhaps he has dual attributes instead of just fire. Tiantuo positions himself, asking the team to pay attention, and advances with his infernal bone flame fist. The MC is not intimidated and also prepares with the same ability. However, Xiaoyan enters the battle and holds his body with her mental control, making him realize that this class is more troublesome than he imagined. In addition, Xinghe also appears attacking from another side. The Grandmaster, observing the fight, believes that he was hasty in making him fight against three at the same time, since a mental master is extremely difficult to deal with, as once controlled by this class, one must either break free with brute force or use stronger mental power to counter it, otherwise it is useless. He believes that the MC has enough physical strength to escape, but is startled to see him smiling. The MC, exerting more and more force, manages to free himself from the mental control, and this causes Xiao Yan to spit blood, as her ability was dissipated by brute force. He grabs the hand of one and the leg of another. All the students are in ecstasy, as the MC not only freed himself from mental control, but also blocked the attacks of two other geniuses. He spins the two into the air, and holding tightly, slams them against the ground, causing massive damage to both. The students cannot believe what they are witnessing, as Su Hong is being excessively cruel in his attacks, as he left the two unconscious from so many blows. He takes a deep breath and looks to the side in the girl's direction, but without hesitation she asks him not to approach as she surrenders. The people cannot believe that there truly exists someone strong enough to defeat the trio of geniuses of that camp. The Grandmaster tells them to stop the noise and asks if anyone else will challenge him. Otherwise, first place will go to Su Hong. They reply that they obviously will not face this monster, as only an idiot would try to challenge him. That said, the old man announces that first place belongs to Su Hong, and since second place to 10th place are vacant, they must continue the competition to see who will take those positions. With that, he tells the MC to follow him to receive the reward, and he becomes excited upon hearing this, as he has gained another rank A technique. As they walk, Tianli reveals to the MC that he has been watching him since the day he stepped into that training field, and questions why he hides his power so much, unlike others who constantly show off. He explains that he has neither power nor influence, and if he stands out too early, he will become an easy target. The old man likes hearing this, as he finds it very intelligent, and confesses that he only organized that duel to ensure that he would have the resources. With that, he says that in the current world, the strong become stronger, and resources concentrate only among geniuses, and tells him not to hide his strength anymore, as he himself, as Grandmaster, will protect him if any problem arises. Su Hong thanks him for all of this. They go to the martial techniques pavilion, and the old man tells him to take the list of techniques. He asks him to look carefully, and the MC asks for a suggestion on which would be best to choose. Before that, Tianli asks which techniques he already masters. He replies that he knows the Infernal Bone Flame Fist, the Cloud Steps, the Gale Fist, and the Void Devastating Finger. The rest are low level. The old man does not believe the abilities he heard, as most of them belong to Xinghe, and asks if by chance he managed to learn them just by watching the boy perform them. He replies yes, and once again, the Grandmaster concludes that he is facing a monster, The saleswoman starts wondering who the MC is who is being personally accompanied by the Grandmaster. The old man points out that since he already has offensive and movement techniques, he should learn a control one and recommends the Flame Prison, Rank A. It condenses spiritual fire energy into a prison to capture the enemy. Offensive techniques only need to attach energy to the weapon or body, but control techniques require the energy to leave the body. Most second-grade warriors cannot do this, and normally it would be impossible to recommend it to a first-grade warrior, but since it is Su Hong, the case is different. Tianli points out that he even knows this technique, and, because of that, will demonstrate it to show how it works. Immediately the MC thanks him, and the old man, activating his fire attribute, creates a cage of flames and explains that although the power of control techniques is inferior to attack techniques, their utility in combat is enormous. Then, he summons a fire arrow to demonstrate and attacks, simulating that some enemy had been caught by the cage beforehand. He admits that maintaining the flame prison while attacking is extremely difficult, since he himself only mastered it after becoming a third-grade warrior. Immediately, the MC refuses this technique, since even the old man had difficulties, so he will pick an easier one. The Grandmaster cannot believe he gave up so quickly, and internally thinks that geniuses are usually proud, but a monster like Su Hong knows how to listen to advice, and that means his future is limitless. However, reality is different, since during the demonstration the MC copied the flame prison technique, and since he already obtained it without even receiving the reward, he took the opportunity to pick another technique. The Grandmaster thinks about which technique he can suggest and recommends a defensive one. Su Hong noticed that it is an earth attribute one, the deep earth armor. It condenses earth energy on the surface of the body to create a powerful defensive armor. He gets excited, since combined with his incredible physique, he will have powerful defense. And so he agrees. The old man takes advantage of the situation and asks what special physique he has. He answers that he has the sovereign body. He says this and imagines it is the strongest body among the 3,000 existing physiques, and that there is a chance the old man will give him many techniques upon knowing this. However, Tianli comments that he has never heard of a physique with that name. The MC laughs and says that he actually made it up. The old man finds it strange and believes it is an unregistered physique, but thinks it must be something superior, since he was able to withstand a punch from Tiantuo, who has the barbarian god body, and he has never seen the strength of a first-grade warrior reach that level. Suddenly, his communicator rings and he asks what it is. Baimu says that the point system shows that Su Hong was still wearing the weight vest during the fight against the trio of geniuses. The old man, not believing this absurdity, asks if he was wearing the vest during the fight against the trio. The MC replies that yes, since if he took it off, he would not earn as many contribution points. He tries not to have a heart attack from so much shock, since he needs to learn that common sense no longer applies to Su Hong. Therefore, he tells him to forget about these points, since if he continues to succeed in challenges, rewards will not be lacking. With that said, the saleswoman says she will help return the weight vest and the MC thanks her. She boasts about being a respected second-grade warrior, but becomes terrified, since the moment he released the weight, it slammed hard into the ground. She asks how many kilos that vest weighs. He says it is 5 tons. The old man, observing this, no longer knows what to think, since the MC defeated the 3 strongest, and did it while using a weight of 5 tons. He calls his little monster, since he wants to give another rank A technique, as he remembers that he uses a spear, and Grandmaster Jianglin also uses one. Because of that, he himself has a rank A lightning spear technique, whose power is one of the greatest among techniques of that level, and he will take him to a duel against that Grandmaster's student, and, if he wins, he will give him the technique. The MC thinks this is not right, but the old man does not care, since his friend is annoying for always mocking others, and therefore needs to be paid back. In any case, he tells him to get ready, since they will leave for Yangcheng early in the morning. At night, the MC returns to his room, which is completely renovated. He focuses since he obtained many new techniques and needs to cultivate them so they all reach beginner level by dawn. Meanwhile, the old man calls his old friend and tells him to prepare the lightning spear technique, as he will bring a student to challenge his place. Jiangling tells him not to joke, since the Yangcheng training field produced a bearer of the wood spiritual body who has already advanced to 2nd grade. And in just 2 days, the boy has already managed to make spiritual energy leave the body with a rank A control technique. The student in question, in the middle of training, activates his ability and uses the wood prison. The vines attack the target but fall apart halfway. His master points out that control techniques are not something learned out of nowhere, and therefore, he should not be ambitious. The boy says he knows that, and even set a goal of 1 month to reach beginner level with this ability. Jangling, still on the call, asks if he heard that, and says that the students he trains are not trash. The old man gets irritated upon hearing this, and the spearmaster warns that his friend will show up with a student and asks him not to win too easily, pretending the fight is balanced. Otherwise, it would be boring. Chunfeng asks him not to worry, since he has talent for acting. On the afternoon of the next day, at the Yangcheng training field, the two finally arrive, and the MC finds his first experience flying under those conditions incredible. They land in the arena, and Jiangling welcomes them and asks what kind of genius he brought. He introduces the MC as a spearman at the initial stage of 1st grade. Su Hong greets them, and the spearman asks if this is some kind of joke, treating an initial stage as a treasure. He imagines that a 2nd grade against a 1st grade is an instant knockout, and does not even know how his student will pretend a balanced fight. The old man tells them to start the duel quickly, since he wants to have dinner early. Everyone goes to the combat arena of the training field. The students wonder what level the MC is, and hope he is not a weakling. Jangling begins by introducing his friend, who is a renowned grandmaster. Everyone finds this incredible. Then they introduce Su Hong, but emphasize that he is a 1st grade warrior at the initial stage. Everyone becomes indignant, since a mere initial stage came for a challenge, while Chunfeng is a 2nd grade warrior who could defeat him with one hand. The boy tries to understand how he will pretend the fight is balanced against someone so weak. Jangling points out that if his student wins, the old man must teach a rank A technique to his student, and immediately tells the MC that if he wins, he will teach the lightning spear technique as well as any other rank A technique. He thanks him for that, and Tianli, very excited, says his friend is really a good person. The guy does not understand this excitement, since it is definitely impossible for the MC to win this battle. The two position themselves in the arena, and the Grandmaster tells his student to be careful with his strength. He says it will not be a problem and draws his sword. He starts imagining how he will act, since it would not be good if he left a boy severely injured with a single blow. Next, he asks if Su Hong won't use a spear, since, as far as he remembers, he had one. The MC replies that for now, it's not necessary. That's because currently, he only knows a rank C skill, and if he used the spear, he would be at a disadvantage. Chunfeng, feeling underestimated since he misunderstood, finds this attitude very arrogant and, because of that, charges forward without thinking twice. As he wants to see how far this arrogance will go, he prepares his attack, but Su Hong easily dodges and instantly moves to the other side of the arena. Chunfeng realizes that his opponent is using a rank A wind style technique and finds that interesting. Because of that, he advances once more, since movement techniques are useless against his power. Then, he uses the wood prison, which grabs the MC's legs. He reflects that, as the Grandmaster said, control techniques are difficult to train, and, judging by it, the boy is a genius, so he will have to use force to break free. However, before he can even try, the magic dissipates, and Su Hong can't believe it, since the magic was far too weak. Chunfeng says he only needed to restrain him for a moment, and the MC, seeing him so close, prepares his fist and counterattacks. The boy realizes the punch is too fast, and that he will be hit before he can even attack. He creates a wooden shield, but the impact is so strong that it sends him flying, unable to understand how Su Hong has so much strength. The students begin to believe in the fight, since a grade 1 is managing to defeat a grade 2 despite the huge difference. Tianli laughs and asks his friend what he thinks. The Grandmaster says that brute force alone won't be enough. The MC positions himself and advances once more, delivering a powerful kick that, upon landing, he realizes is actually an afterimage. Chunfeng appears behind him, as he also possesses rank A techniques, but Su Hong, being faster, manages to dodge. The boy tells him to surrender, since the level difference is too great. The MC simply raises his hand and, after activating his fire attribute, creates a cage of flames, trapping his opponent. The boy can't believe he is seeing a control technique and doesn't understand how an initial stage warrior has already learned this kind of technique, but he is sure it won't last long. Jangling can't believe that someone at the initial stage has mastered the flame prison and finds it completely ridiculous. But he gets startled when he sees his friend also surprised and asks why he is surprised and whether he was the one who taught that technique to the MC. He doesn't know what to answer, and the Grandmaster realizes that first the boy used the wind attribute and doesn't understand where that fire attribute came from to create the cage. Tianli says not to be surprised, since it's multiple attributes, and there's no need for such astonishment. Besides that, they don't understand how the prison still hasn't collapsed. To make matters worse, the MC prepares his flaming fist, and the grass-haired boy, frightened, starts sweating cold, since, as far as he knows, attacking while maintaining a control technique is difficult even for a grade 3 warrior. Su Hong attacks toward him, and the boy tries to defend himself with his wood technique, but it is completely useless, as the blow lands directly, destroying the wood, the sword, and everything in front of it. The punch is so strong that it throws him against the cage of fire, burning his clothes. The fire begins to deal damage, and his wood protection starts regenerating his body almost immediately. Chunfeng tells him not to underestimate the healing power of the wood spirit body of a grade 2 warrior. Su Hong truly thinks a wood spirit body is incredible, a special physique, since the recovery capacity is absurd. But if that's the problem, then he decides it's time to unleash several punches, and during his sequence of blows, he considers that he won't be able to keep holding back forever. The grass-haired boy warns that it's useless, as he will never win through exhaustion, since a grade 1's endurance will never surpass that of a grade 2. That said, after taking the combo, he challenges him, wanting to see what happens first, whether the flame prison collapses or his own recovery runs out. The MC is aware that his fire spiritual energy is running out, and as soon as the flame prison's restraint disappears, the situation could turn. With that, he makes a movement that dispels the prison, and the boy laughs, asking if he has already given up and saying it's time to counterattack. However, he is startled when he sees something wrong with Su Hong's hand. He admits that the move consumes a lot of energy and that he didn't intend to use it at that moment. Chunfeng remains in shock, as never in his life could that kind of power be released by a grade 1 warrior. Immediately, he places his hands on the ground, since he cannot let the MC get close at all, and creates a wooden barrier using his technique. Su Hong carefully observes the obstacle in front of him, and, after preparing himself, delivers a punch so powerful that it completely annihilates the wall, hitting his target directly and sending him flying, leaving him knocked out. The people watching can't accept that someone so powerful has been knocked out with just one punch, especially by a grade 1 warrior at the initial stage. Jangling, indignant, asks his friend what kind of monster the MC is, and, even more surprised, wants to know if what he saw was a tribute fusion, and whether a child can really do that, since a young grade 1 warrior mastering something like that is simply impossible. He replies that it's nothing special, and didn't even want to mention that Su Hong mastered this attribute fusion in just 1 month. Another thing he also wasn't going to say, but says anyway, is that the MC has 100% affinity with all 7 attributes. Jangling no longer knows how to react to this information, and the Grandmaster continues boasting about how incredible his student is. The Spearmaster tries to process how it is possible for someone to be born with 100% affinity in all 7 attributes and still manage to fuse 2 of them in 1 month. Tianli tells him not to forget the promise he made, since he wants to see him give the rank A lightning spear technique, and the other technique will be the supreme thunder palm technique. The Grandmaster says that's fine, since it was promised. They go to the training room, and the MC prepares to learn these techniques. Jangling can't get out of his head the fact that there is a monster in front of him, since he has never seen anyone like this in his life, but gets to the point, saying that the lightning spear technique is what he will teach, and that it is called 9 spears that break the heavens. He channels electricity into his fist and says that this technique, every 3 movements, forms a form, totaling 3 forms. The power of each form is greater than the previous one, and the difficulty of learning also increases. In addition, he normally would never teach a warrior below grade 4, but based on the talent he witnessed, he believes it won't be a problem. He tells him to pay close attention and activates the first form, creating practically an electric tsunami. Then he moves to the second form, overturning seas. A giant wave moves to the other side of the arena. The MC feels the pressure of the attack, since in the middle of that storm of lightning, he feels like just a solitary boat in the ocean, where any thundering raindrop could completely overturn him. Finally, the Grandmaster activates the third form and creates several gigantic electric vortices. Su Hong, observing this, becomes frightened, since Jiangling clearly held back in the second form so as not to destroy the training hall, and, even so, the residual power created a terrifying tornado. He is aware that, although he is currently nothing more than an ant, in the future, he will also reach this level of combat. After this entire demonstration, the Spearmaster asks him to practice alone first, and, if he has any doubts, he can ask at any time. Su Hong sincerely thanks him, and Jiangling says there is no need to thank him. After all, a bet is a bet, and explains that once he masters the first form, he will teach the second technique, the Palm Thunder, and already warns that it is a much more powerful technique than the one he just taught. The MC becomes even more excited since he did not imagine that the second technique would be even more powerful than the one he had just seen, and, because of that, he wants to learn as quickly as possible. The Grandmaster says he needs to go talk to Tianli and will return later to see how the progress is going. After returning to check, Jiangling concludes that the MC is definitely a monster. Because of this, he goes outside to reflect, and at that moment, the old man appears, questioning why he is standing outside and whether he still has not taught the Palm Thunder. He replies that he already finished and that he can go see for himself. Tianli finds this absurd because the technique is extremely difficult, and if he does not stay on top of him while teaching, Su Hong will never learn it. When he opens the door to check, he sees the MC with the technique active, saying that he finally learned the skill. The old man also goes outside, indignant, since he had even imagined that he was mentally prepared, but that was not the case. Jiangling says that it took him 3 months to master this technique, and even though he considered himself a genius, he realizes that he is nothing. Besides that, he mentions that the MC's future is grand and that he will probably become a grade 9 in the future because he has unlimited potential. The Grandmaster tells him not to keep lamenting because they should take advantage of being old friends to catch up. With that said, he tells the MC that they are going out to drink and that he can continue training peacefully. Sometime later, in the training camp dormitory, Su Hong reflects that after defeating Tiantuo's trio and Chun Feng, he obtained a total of 230 martial points, but his vitality is far too low, and his spirit, physique, and techniques also need to keep leveling up. He knows that his cultivation level is the foundation of everything and, because of that, decides to prioritize blood energy. His other concern is that he needs to find a way to earn more martial points, but no one in the training camp will have the courage to enter a duel, and, apparently, the only thing left is to go to the ferocious beast room and kill everything he finds along the way. Meanwhile, the two old men are drinking heavily, since they had a long day. At that moment, a subordinate appears, saying that the night attack is about to begin, and that they are only waiting for the leader's order. Jiangling remembers this, and tells them not to go too easy, since they should beat those brats to a pulp. However, Tianli calls his attention, since it will be a problem, because they are going to carry out a night attack on the very night the MC is sleeping there. Jiangling realizes that this is true, and immediately orders the night attack to be postponed. However, his subordinate warns that the attack has already begun. Those responsible for the attack move at high speed, and Bu Jingfeng asks his brother why he is participating too, since he is a grade 2 warrior at the high stage. He replies that he heard there is a student with a wood spiritual body and absurd ability, so the Grandmaster called him specifically to deal with that person. He takes a deep breath, since he knows that the level difference is huge, and that it is as if he were intimidating little children, but there is nothing he can do. Then, he says that he heard his brother was defeated during a night attack and thinks that is disgraceful. Bu Jingfeng tries to explain that in truth, he merely let his guard down, but if he crosses paths with the MC again, he will finish him off. Bujinglong tells him to relax, although he should not be so proud of defeating only an initial stage student, and without wasting time, orders everyone to put on their hoods, because they are going to attack at that very moment. With the order given, everyone advances toward their respective targets, and chaos takes over the dormitory. The MC notices that there is a lot of noise and wonders if it is another night attack. He sees a student flying far away, and the person responsible for the attack charges at him, ordering him to pass out at once. However, Su-hong punches him in the mouth, making him completely lose his bearings. He makes it clear that he did not even ask anything and that, in fact, he is not even a student of that training camp. Only then, seeing the guy stuck to the ceiling, does he reflect that they are all dressed in black with their faces covered, and this gives him a great idea, since he can pretend to be an invader to defeat some students and legitimately earn martial points. Even though he knows this is wrong, he thinks the idea is far too brilliant and needs to put it into practice. Meanwhile, the invaders are catching the students off guard, and at that moment, the MC appears in disguise, saying that he will help. The invader prepares to say that this sector is his, but he takes a punch to the mouth so strong that it breaks the wall. The student tries to understand what is going on and whether it is an internal fight, but sees the MC running away without even hitting him, even though that was supposed to be the invader's objective. Su-hong celebrates, since they are all high level and he can fight without holding back. Knowing this, he goes around hitting everyone, whether student or invader, and after clearing the place out, he realizes that the first floor is complete and that he should go to the second. He barely reaches the upper floor and already starts clearing it out, earning points at an absurdly fast rate. Meanwhile, on the third floor, the invaders are observing how resistant Chun-feng is, because he has terrifying recovery since he has been fighting Bujinglong for quite some time. At this moment, the MC appears, asking what the hell they are doing because they are blocking the way. They ask him to watch the bizarre recovery that one of the students has, but the MC says there is no need and starts beating all of them up because he is dying to earn points. Bujinglong looks back, trying to understand why they are fighting among themselves, and Su-hong, aiming at the two of them, tells both of them to attack together for real. Bujinglong tells the student to rest for a while, since he will deal with the situation at once, and, charging forward, shouts that each night invader is only responsible for their own target and that, since he did not follow the rules, he will teach him a lesson. The MC finds this interesting and counterattacks with his Vajra fist. The invader does not understand where so much strength is coming from and is forced to retreat, since the force he witnessed is bizarre. He calls the boy to fight together, since the opponent's strength is abnormal. Chun-feng starts by using his wood prison, which creates some vines around the MC's foot, which, by the way, he manages to dodge. But this distraction allows Bujinglong to get closer, and, when he throws a punch with all his strength, it is blocked by Earth Attribute armor. The guy cannot believe it, since his grade 2 attack was blocked, and the target is definitely a monster. Su-hong disappears and reappears, slamming him into the wall with a blow to the stomach. Then, he advances, and also drives Chun-feng's head into the floor, knocking the guy out on the spot. He earns more martial points by defeating the two of them, and is pleased since, in total, he gained 2,400 points in a single night and already considers himself rich. The next morning, everyone gathers while injured, and Jiangling complains to the Grandmaster that his student caused a mess the previous night. The old man says he knows nothing about it, but the guy insists, since he cannot imagine anyone else doing that. Because of this, he tells them to leave soon, since they cause too much trouble. Tianli asks the MC if, by any chance, he still does not have techniques of the metal, wood, and water attributes. He replies that he does not, and this makes the old man excited, since he has a few more friends to pay a visit to. Over the next 10 days, they visited 3 other training camps, and, always using the same strategy, he managed to obtain 3 more new rank A techniques. Sometime later, he returns to his dormitory and continues meditating to learn all the metal, wood, and water techniques he obtained. He finally manages to reach the beginner level in all 3 techniques and can hardly believe that he obtained so many rank A skills so quickly. Besides that, he accumulated plenty of martial points and, with that, starts investing in blood energy. The points keep increasing frantically until they reach 450 points. He reflects that he only needs 50 more points to advance to grade 2 warrior, and, since he has 100 points remaining, wonders whether he should strengthen his spirit or the sovereign body. His choice is the sovereign body, so he spends all 100 points, and the body rises to 0.1%. He simply cannot believe that 100 points were needed to increase it by only 0.1%, since leveling up is far too difficult. He soon realizes that, in the future, he will need to prioritize advancing his level and decides to go to the Ferocious Beasts room to earn more points. However, the Grandmaster appears at the door, suggesting that he learn a martial healing technique. The MC immediately realizes that he is going to trick another friend. With that said, they go to the Hangzhou training field. Wang Qingshan, who is the Grandmaster of the place, warns them that, in this special training, they must survive for 7 days in the 10,000 Demons mountain range. The MC reflects that he will only earn contribution points by killing the ferocious beasts and realizes that the region is packed with geniuses. The old man announces that the special training is starting, and immediately, all the students advance into the mountain range. Now alone, the Grandmaster asks if he still wants to keep the bet, since, from what he saw, his friend's student is not even a grade 2. Tianli tells him not to worry, since he is absolutely certain of the MC's victory, and after the victory, he must teach a rank A healing technique. He also warns that, in exchange, for every student Su Hong defeats, he will teach each of them a technique of the same level. The old man says that half of his students are already grade 2 and does not believe he will be able to teach all of them. Then, he walks away, since he does not believe it will do the MC any harm to get to know the wild beasts early on, since they are grade 2 and 3. Tianli asks if this is some kind of joke, that there are level 3 monsters, and whether he is trying to kill the students. He replies that the war between races is cruel, so he needs to train them as if their lives depended on it. The Grandmaster takes a deep breath, and this time, his only wish is not even for him to come first, but simply for him to come back alive. The MC continues battling with the others, finishing them off one by one, regardless of the creature's size. Time passes, and by night, he continues wiping out the monsters with the techniques he learned, finding it incredible how impressive they are, but using them so frequently is consuming a lot of spiritual energy. He enters a cave because he realizes that he has gathered enough martial points to advance to level 2. He continues concentrating to put his points into blood energy. Meanwhile, outside, a guy keeps walking because he was forced to stand guard in the middle of the night until he is startled when he sees some dead creatures, meaning there really is someone there. He approaches the cave and says that he knows someone is inside, so they should come out on their own, since it will be quick. Otherwise, he will skin them alive. The guy praises him for having killed a level 2 black flame tiger, but that only means his strength is, at most, at that level. He tells him not to do anything stupid, or he will suffer a fate worse than death. The MC, who is hiding, notices that the guy's tone of voice means he is not a good person, and seems to look down even on level 3 warriors. So he guesses that the guy might be level 4. He knows that, although he has advanced to level 2, there is no guarantee that he can defeat a level 4. Since he needs to try to escape at all costs, he launches his water ability, which heads toward Icarus. He is happy because his target has finally appeared and destroys the ability, finding it amusing since, in the end, it is only a level 2 power at the initial stage. But he is startled when he sees a blur passing overhead, trying to escape, and so he begins his pursuit, admiring that someone at the initial stage defeated a black tiger, meaning he is a genius. But those are exactly the lucky geniuses he likes to massacre. Only then does he stop because he finds something strange and questions why the hell the MC stopped running. Su Hong replies that, judging by the blood energy he saw, the guy is, at most, a grade 3, and he was the idiot for thinking he was a level 4. In addition, he points out that that tattoo belongs to the celestial race, so he is probably from the demonic cult of the 1,000 races. He knows that this cult is actually made up of humans, but they are ashamed of their own race and take pride in serving the others. Basically, they are terrorists who capture humans to sacrifice them. He thinks this kind of scum should be wiped off the face of the earth. Icarus tells him to do it if he has enough skill and launches his celestial sun slash. The MC knows that this is his first time facing a level 3 warrior, so he needs to go all out. For that reason, he launches his lightning attack, but his ability swallows the enemies. He cannot believe how weak that ability is, since he never imagined that a level 3 warrior's technique would be instantly dissipated by his strike. Icarus, on the other hand, cannot believe what he is seeing, because even though he is an entire level above his opponent, his technique was completely destroyed. On top of that, he saw him using the water attribute, but his attack was blocked by the lightning attribute. He tries not to get distracted and launches several attacks with his blade, but the MC is much faster and appears behind him. Once again, with his lightning technique, he uses the Invert the Seas ability, which forces the guy to run at all costs, since he realized that this power is far superior to his Celestial Sun Slash. However, halfway through, his feet are grabbed by some lines, and the guy can no longer accept this, because he has already seen him use water, thunder, and now even wood. An electric explosion is caused at the location, and after the ability dissipates, he notices that the lunatic dodged using some kind of bizarre movement technique. The guy appears outside and thinks he was unlucky because he imagined he had found an ordinary human genius, but instead ran into a monster. At that moment, the MC appears, wanting to see where he will run. Icarus screams in rage and tells him to feel the majesty of the celestial race. Su-hong calls him sick, because not even ghosts or humans transform into such a bizarre form. His spear attack is blocked with only the guy's hand, and Icarus makes it clear that, in his blood transformation, he becomes a legitimate member of the celestial race and tells him to die already, since he will not let anyone interfere with his ritual. At this moment, the MC activates his flame prison, trapping the guy in his trap. Then, he uses the technique of the 9 spears that pierce the sky, and the attack is so strong that it blows the lunatic apart, who even in pieces, still has time to call the MC a monster before his body finally collapses. The system announces that he obtained 12 martial points for killing a transformed celestial, and he finds it incredible how many points he gets from killing a member of the demonic cult, since he fought several beasts and the points did not even come close. Then, he thinks about the sacrifice the guy mentioned and whether they might have captured humans, since something like that needs to be reported to the Grandmaster. After that, at the camp base, Tianli says that the MC sent a report saying that he found the demonic cult of the 1,000 races and that they are carrying out some sacrificial ritual and that they must rescue the people. The Grandmaster explains that this time, the targets of the sacrifice are the cult's own followers, so if they die, they die. The old man feels relieved if that is the only problem, but Wang Qingshan does not understand why his friend still has the nerve to keep drinking tea and whether he is not going out to save the student. He replies that he is not, since the guy from the cult was only a level 3 in the initial stage, and the MC has already finished the guy off. The old man does not believe that a level 1 killed a grade 3, and that, obviously, it is a made-up story. 3 days later, Su-hong goes around killing more and more monsters, and, even after killing countless level 3 beasts, he ends up not finding any other members of the demonic cult. Besides that, he obtained a little over 800 martial points, and it would have been better if he had killed 4 members of that cult. At this moment, he notices a presence, and a girl on top of a tree praises him for sensing her presence, and says that if they had met on another occasion, she could have given him a lot of affection, but since he invaded that place, then all that remains is death. She says that and launches her attack. Su-hong merely watches the strike approaching, since he finds it amazing that the martial points came to him without him even needing to look for them. He uses his water dragon and blows up the attack that was heading in his direction. At this moment, a blur passes by his side, and he catches the other attack, while thinking that he will take advantage of the situation to ask where the cult's other hideouts are. He pulls the weapon toward himself, and Natasha does not understand what kind of damn strength that is. Su-hong prepares his fist and slams a punch into her head against the ground. Then, he points his spear and orders her to answer where the hideout of that demonic cult is. She does not hesitate and replies that it is 10 kilometers to the north and only asks for her life to be spared. He wants to know the number of level 3 warriors in the forest. She says that besides her, there are 2 others, as well as 3 more level 2 warriors. Su-hong realizes that he has already taken care of 2 level 2 warriors, so only 1 remains, and he can perfectly eliminate all the cult followers and earn thousands of martial points to advance his mental strength to level 2. Because of this distraction, the girl takes the opportunity to retreat and immediately activates her transformation of the celestial race, because in this transformation, her strength doubles. But it is no use, since, in the blink of an eye, the MC drives his spear into her from behind and says that this cult has committed unforgivable crimes, and, because of that, none of them will escape alive. He says that and finishes her off at once to receive the points. He notices that it was worth it, since he gained 208 points, and if things continue like this, it will be interesting. The next morning, at the demonic cult of the thousands of races, several warriors are gathered because they were deceived and will now be served as sacrifices. The bloody commander orders them all to be killed, and his servants immediately attack, because there are 3 geniuses of the human race at grade 2, and what they like the most is killing warriors like that. They do not lower their heads, since even if they die, they believe the Grandmaster will avenge them. Meanwhile, the old men are watching from above, since the 3 people cornered are the 3 greatest geniuses of the region. Tianli sees that they really are good, since they are facing several level 3 warriors, even if it costs them their own lives. The Grandmaster asks them to let them fight a little, and if they cannot hold on anymore, they can go down to rescue them. However, Tianli looks to the side and says that they will not need to act, since his little monster is going to rescue the kids. Wang Qingshan asks if he is drunk, since someone at level 1 would not have the slightest chance of rescuing anyone against level 3 warriors. The tank of the genius trio tells them to retreat while he holds off the attacks, but they are all willing to die there together. One of the demons appears to finish them off, but the MC appears, attacking with his spiritual spear, and throws the monster against the tree, finishing it off in that same instant. The cult asks who the hell appeared, but it is too late, since Su-hong appears in front of them and uses his thunder palm, finishing the 2 of them off. Then, he annihilates the next target while asking if the 3 of them are all right. They cannot believe that someone is so strong to the point of killing so many level 3 warriors instantly. Above, the Grandmaster turns around indignantly, questioning his friend if, by any chance, his student possesses the thunder palm, meaning he is of the lightning attribute. But what he had requested from him was a healing technique, which is of the wood attribute. Besides that, using the thunder palm for so long means that he advanced to level 2, and he cannot believe how it is possible to arrive at the battlefield at level 1 and already be at level 2 in the high stage, because growth at that speed is ridiculous. The MC tells them to leave, since he will cover them, but he gets worried since the demon woman must have lied, because there are more than 10 level 3 warriors. But that only makes him more excited, since he will profit far too many points. The demons charge forward, but Su-hong does not stay still and finishes off those who come close with his absurd strength. The cult tells them not to approach, but a massacre takes place, while one of the monsters climbs the altar and, already up there, shouts that the sacred cult of the thousands of races will not forget this sacrifice. Su-hong notices something strange, since the blood is going toward the altar, and he does not understand what is going on, concluding that this must be the result of the sacrifice. The monster, which looked more like a vampire, ends up becoming an angel and orders everyone to kneel. The MC observes this and believes that if he kills a real member of the celestial race, he will gain an absurd number of points. Qian Ming questions who gave an insect permission to raise its head and instantly appears behind the MC, guaranteeing that he will pay with his life. Su-hong cannot believe that speed and blocks the punch by a hair, even destroying the terrain with the power. The angel finds it interesting that such a strong person exists in the human generation, and Su-hong, already breaking out in a cold sweat, gets worried because he had not imagined that a member of the celestial race would be so strong. Qian Ming says that at first, he thought the possession would be like the previous ones, erasing only a few humans, and he did not expect to find such a strong prodigy, but guarantees that he will crush him to avoid future problems. He complains that his own physique is trash, because the blood energy has not even reached level 4 and is about to collapse, but he sees no problem, because level 3 at the high grade is more than enough to kill a worm with ease. The MC hears all of this and realizes that this guy is not a real member of the celestial race, but merely a possessed human. Then, without wasting time, he launches an attack, and both of them begin exchanging blows. Tianli, watching the fight, admits that the body of the celestial race is truly impressive, since it is managing to exchange blows with the MC, but his friend is shocked, because that is not the point, since something must be wrong with Su Hong. After all, being able to fight against a celestial using only physical strength is impressive. The MC manages to land a punch that sends the celestial flying backward. He tries to understand what the hell this physique is, because not even on the battlefield of the heavens, while facing the geniuses of the thousands of races, did he suffer so much damage, and he is not managing to use all of his power because he is being repelled. The MC asks what happened, and if, by any chance, he is already tired, and he is feeling very refreshed after awakening the sovereign body. Before, he was afraid of killing someone by accident, but now, he only needs to think about how to kill the opponent. Qianming starts by saying that the physical body he possesses is weak, and Su Hong agrees, because if he were with his real body, the fight would be more satisfying. This makes the madman explode with rage, since he is being humiliated for no reason, and he throws his divine treasure, which creates several portals, summoning countless celestial spears. The MC realizes that these golden spears have the power to annihilate a level 3 warrior and does not know what technique this is. To make things worse, the system warns that this technique cannot be learned, and he is stunned since he did not know there was a technique that could not be learned. The old men realize that this is the innate technique of the celestial race. Only someone with a pure bloodline can execute it, and maybe the guy is an important figure among the celestials. At this moment, Wang Qingshan asks them to quickly rescue Su Hong, since he is a precious treasure that cannot die. However, the Grandmaster asks them to wait a little longer, since he has not used all the trump cards he possesses yet. Then, without wasting time, he reveals that Su Hong has 100% affinity with the 7 attributes, and had already mastered the fusion of thunder and fire since level 1. The old man no longer knows how to react to this. Back to the battle, the Celestial admits that he needs to use everything to eliminate a future threat and launches all his spears at the same time. The MC admits that this guy is also the first one forcing him to fight seriously, and because of that, he activates his 9 spears that tear through the heavens. The power moves with such force that it destroys everything in front of it in Qianming's direction, who is struck while thinking that this is impossible to be happening. The place is completely destroyed, along with the enemy, and all that remains is a path of destruction. Su Hong, despite being exhausted, is happy, since killing that guy earned him 843 points at once. At this moment, the old men appear, and Wang Qingshan runs up to him, since, if he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed that a level 2 defeated a celestial. Su Hong does not understand this excitement, since he was just a member of the celestial race, and he knows that this was to be expected from a top 20 race of the heavens, since he forced him to use his trump card, and he cannot even imagine how terrifying the geniuses of that race must be. Then, he asks if he said something wrong, since the old men started acting strange. 4 days later, the special training ended. The MC came in first place, with an absurd difference in points. The crowd cannot believe those points, but the trio of geniuses does not think so, since they witnessed how incredible Su Hong is, and even all of them together would not be a match for him. In addition, they question where he is, since they wanted to ask for advice. But apparently, the Grandmaster kidnapped him to teach him the rank A technique he possesses. Wang Qingshan cannot believe that Su Hong learned the healing technique in less than a day, and his friend tells him to get used to it. Su Hong remains meditating and, with his body fully healed, realizes how incredible this type of technique is, since even his old scars disappeared. In addition, he managed to gather $4,800 martial points and will be able to raise his spirit to 500 points to become a level 2 mental master. Meanwhile, on the planet of the celestial race, the leaders question how Qianming was suppressed in physical strength and was also defeated by a human even after using the divine treasure. He replies that there was nothing he could do since that human was a monstrous genius. Then, the celestial Tiangshang introduces himself after being summoned, and these leaders warn that if the MC is not eliminated, he will become a major problem, so they must issue a pursuit order. He says that this will not be a problem, and even reveals that, at the moment, they still have not found the sacred object that is in the humans' territory, but they will continue searching with all their fervor. Meanwhile, in Xingcheng City, Tiantuo defeats a demonic bear, and the people watching think it is insane that he has already defeated several fierce level 2 beasts. This has been happening ever since the trio of geniuses was defeated by the MC. They spend the entire day locked inside the gravity room and the fierce beast room, and they exchange all their contribution points for strength pills. Even Xinghe is starting to look like a bodybuilder from training his muscles so much. And, in fact, the three of them can hardly wait for their rematch with Su Hong. At this moment, Yedqi, the Grandmaster, returns to the camp, and Linz asks where the MC is. He answers that the boy wanted to spend a few more days training in the forest, so he came back first. The supervisor gets worried, since the training camp will end in a few days, but the old man reassures him, since there is no way he will be late. 2 days later, at the top of a mountain, the MC continues increasing his spirit points until a giant serpent appears, trying to devour him, but he simply raises his hand and freezes the monster in the air. Then, he activates the art of weapon gathering and summons an extremely gigantic spiritual sword, which, with just one movement, cuts the monster in half as if it were butter. He notes that the power of a level 2 mental master's technique is truly terrifying, and that he was lucky his mental strength had increased drastically, because now he can try fusing 3 attributes. As soon as he combines the thunder, fire, and mental attributes, they instantly become extremely unstable. He thinks it is a pain, since it is ridiculously difficult to control, and when he realizes it, the entire mountain has already been destroyed. Su Hong is stunned that the power of a failed fusion is so terrible that it can destroy everything, but if he manages to fuse them successfully, he might even be able to injure a level 4 warrior. Sometime later, he returns when the last day of the training camp arrives. Everyone starts gossiping about his return and whether the trio of geniuses will challenge him as soon as they see him. The Grandmaster asks the 3 of them if they really think they can win, and they confirm without hesitation. The MC asks if they are truly sure about this challenge, and all of them, releasing their auras, tell him not to underestimate them, because they managed to advance to advanced level 2 and even believe they do not need all 3 of them together to win. Su Hong apologizes, but warns that he is also already a level 2 warrior. They do not understand how that is possible, since the MC was only at the initial stage of level 1. The girl is the first not to be intimidated, because at least she's a grade 1 mental master, and she invokes her art of weapon gathering, creating her giant sword. However, her summon is destroyed, and the MC, pointing his aura sword, warns that he is also a mental master. The trio panics, since the MC, besides reaching level 2, has also become a grade 2 mental master, and that is bizarre. Su Hong knows that the 3 of them still are not enough, so he asks everyone in the camp to attack him at the same time. Deep down, he knows this is a great opportunity to earn martial points. Immediately, the crowd surrenders and tells him to go after the geniuses, since they were not the ones looking for trouble. Meanwhile, the supervisors question the Grandmaster for hiding the fact that the MC is a mental master. But even the old man is surprised to know this and bursts out laughing, since a monster is always a monster, and, without a doubt, he is a prodigy who appears once every 1,000 years, and the human race is safe. The supervisors ask whether they should stop the MC, since he is having a field day with the crowd, but in the end, they decide not to, since young people are energetic. At this moment, the Grandmaster senses something, and the ping returns, warning that the 30 days are over and all humans must disappear. The MC notes that it is the divine bird again. Tianli gets furious at this stinking bird because he had given it too much respect and attacks with his infernal flames, since the creature dared to try to expel them, and he starts beating it like never before so it can learn its lesson. Su Hong observes that those are the flames of a level 7 Grandmaster, and the temperature is terrifying, making it look no different from a battle between gods. The bird warns that it brought powerful reinforcements, but the Grandmaster does not care about that and tells everyone to come at once. However, a voice echoes in his head, ordering him to stop. He immediately starts sweating cold, since a ridiculously giant creature appears before them, with eyes more sinister than anything in that world. The supervisors comment that it is the sovereign of all demons, and that they had no idea the golden-winged Peng had a connection with this sovereign. The MC is aware that this is the sovereign of all demons. It is one of the most powerful existences in the Cordillera of the 10,000 demons, and the weakest among them is level 9. There are even existences above that in the realm of kings. This colossal demon gets closer and closer, and the MC, sensing this magnitude, notes that even a level 7 Grandmaster becomes insignificant before a level 9 expert, and he himself, who is level 2, is as far apart as the abyss and the sky. This also worries him, because if a being of this level attacked the city now, he would not be able to protect anyone, and because of that, he knows he needs to become stronger to the point of reaching the realm of kings, so he will not lose to anyone. The Grandmaster praises the bird, since it even made friends with the sovereign of all demons. And, as the Peng leaves, he reflects that, among all demons, humanity has an agreement with the sovereign of demons, and he cannot act freely. So, there is no need to worry about the creature oppressing the young people. Although this unexpected incident with the sovereign of all demons occurred, the training camp ended normally. Su-hong imagines that his uncle and aunt must be worried, because he was away for more than a month. His friends run up to him to praise him, saying that his name will echo throughout the entire city, and they hope he does not hold a grudge against them. The MC sighs, since he is not that petty. In fact, he would not even remember it. At this moment, the instructor calls everyone and announces that, to welcome them back, the City Lord's Palace has organized a banquet. The students thank them for their hospitality, but Su-hong thinks this is a pain, because he did not want to attend any banquet. He only wanted to reunite with his uncle and aunt. Everyone goes to the City Lord's mansion, since the banquet hall is completely filled with food. A servant guides everyone on where they should sit, and the MC's uncle and aunt do not even know how to react to so much fancy food. Some nobles look at them and whisper that even poor people are attending the banquet, and they do not understand what is wrong with the waiters for letting just anyone in. Qinwei worries that she might embarrass Su-hong because they are dressed so simply. Her husband believes that maybe they should not have come. After all, those are the best clothes they own. At this moment, the principal appears and greets them, because he recognized that they are Su-hong's uncle and aunt. They immediately stand up, and the principal asks them not to be nervous. The president hears all of this and rushes over to greet them, because she believes the MC is a very promising genius. The nobility cannot believe what is happening, because the school principal and the president of the association are greeting simple people, and they do not even know who the hell this Su-hong is. Meanwhile, at another table, Xinghe's father comments that the city lord's son has an excellent son who possesses the body of the barbarian god and must have conquered first place in the training with ease. The city lord comments that the other two families of his son's friends are also enviable, and one of them is even the only mental master of the generation, while the other possesses terrifying perception, mastering techniques such as the quick step. The girl's father confirms it, although he thinks that, compared to the body of the barbarian god, a mental master is probably stronger, and believes that maybe she took first place. Xingguan laughs at this, since he does not believe that his son lost while using a special movement technique. At this moment, the city lord slams the table, because he believes that Tiantuo possesses the greatest attack power of them all. The three continue arguing, since each one thinks his child is stronger than the others, and the school director, hearing this noise, wonders whether the president of the association is not going to break up the fight. She replies that she is not dumb enough to draw the attention of a few show-off nobles, because she will want to hit them. Besides, she believes that when those brats arrive, the fun of those doting parents will come to an end. He notes that she really trusts Su-hong's potential, even though the brat is only a level 1 in the initial stage. Lingxian admits that this is female intuition. At this moment, a guy announces that the training camp bus has just arrived, and the nobles immediately stand up, since they cannot wait to receive their children. They go outside and simply cannot believe how injured their children are, and they cannot believe who could have done this. The greatest outrage comes from the north of the city, since his son is clearly worse off than all the others, and the girl says it serves him right since he was stubborn and refused to give up, unlike Xinghe, who surrendered quickly and therefore got beaten less. They do not understand how the hell the three of them could lose, and become even more surprised when they realize that their aura has surpassed level 2, and for someone to defeat that level, they have to be some kind of monster. Tiantuo replies that this person is stronger than him. Xinghe admits that the MC is faster, and the girl finishes by saying that the guy's mental power is stronger than hers, and tells them to see it for themselves, since he is definitely a monster. All the students form a passage at the bus door, and the MC steps out from inside, complaining because he only wants to go home today and is sure that his uncles made good food. However, he is happy to see them present at the banquet. His relatives get ready to run, but Qinwei trips on the ground, only, before falling, she is paralyzed in the air by Su Hong's power, which leaves her amazed, because it was an incredible technique he used. They praise him because their nephew has definitely become stronger, and he tells them not to worry, since he came back safely. The city lord cannot stop trembling, because he is indeed seeing Su Hong as a level 2 mental master. Both the director and the council president point at each other, because they hid the fact that the MC was a mental master, when, in reality, neither of them knew. Deep down, they celebrate, since the city is prospering very well. Immediately, all the nobles get in touch to find out all of Su Hong's information, and there are even some who want to offer their daughters in marriage. At this moment, the city lord calls out to the MC, since he lives up to the title of the #1 genius of the city, and hands him the keys to a mansion and another 3 million in cash, asking him to accept it, since it is the prize he prepared for first place. All the nobles know that this prize is just a facade, because the guy was certain that his son would return in first place. Wang Ni says that he can ask for anything in the future, and he will do everything he can to help. The MC realizes that the city lord is trying to recruit him publicly, and if he refuses, he will offend him. But if he forms this alliance, he will not be able to refuse the requests the guy makes in the future. He is aware that the city lord's power in Xingcheng is absolute, and that he definitely cannot offend him. Besides, having someone like that protecting his family will give him peace of mind to leave the city to train. He also has the Grandmaster, the President, and the Director as support, so he does not need to fear that the Lord will force him to do something absurd in the future. With this in mind, he sincerely thanks the City Lord for his kindness, since he really does need his help, and points out that his aunt suffers from a rare illness, so he only asks for help with her treatment. His uncles are filled with emotion, and Wang Ni orders his employee to take care of the matter, guaranteeing the best medical resources available. Then, he asks if he wants anything else and tells him not to be shy. Su Hong says that he would also like to receive a weapon that matches his style. The mayor laughs and tells him to come to the arsenal to choose whatever he wants. Deep down, he was terrified that he would not ask for anything, since the more he asks for, the deeper his bond with the Wang family will become. The MC asks his uncles to wait for a moment, and the Lord tells his son to conduct the rest of the banquet. That said, Tiantuo politely asks the MC's uncles to accompany him inside. The nobles are amazed, since Su Hong's family has definitely ascended to the heavens all at once. Arriving at the arsenal of the Lord's mansion, he says that there are countless rank C alloys, some rank B ones, and even rank A ones, and because of that, he asks what his attribute is. Su Hong is aware that a rank A alloy is worth hundreds of millions, and because of that, he asks if there happens to be any weapon with multiple attributes. Wang Ni becomes confused, since this implies that he is a multi-attribute warrior, and he shows that he is, because the Grandmaster was very generous and recommended that he choose weapons with as many attributes as possible. The Lord cannot believe that he is seeing him manipulate 7 attributes, and the MC is aware that the more monstrous he appears, the more the guy will value him. Wang Ni tries to understand how he has such cultivation speed while manipulating 7 attributes. As far as he knows, cultivating more than one is extremely slow, let alone reaching level 2 with all the attributes. He knows that someone of this level, with all these talents, is an absolute monster who fell into his city like a divine star falling from the sky, and, not knowing what else to do, apologizes for being so useless. Suhong does not understand this sudden reaction, and he explains that multi-attribute weapons are extremely rare, and in that arsenal, there are only a few with dual attributes. He shows one specific weapon with 3 attributes, which is a rank B spearhead made of black gold mystic iron, and asks if he wants to have it disassembled so he can use it in an improvised way. The MC immediately thanks him, because as a shaft, he will be able to use his thunder and fire spear, since a 3-attribute spear is more than enough for a start. In addition, the Lord comments that some anomalies have appeared near the city with dual attributes, or even more than that, and he will even ask them to keep an eye out for him. The MC asks what kind of anomalies those are. He replies that several anomalies appeared around the world while the students were at the camp, and in that city specifically, multi-attribute fierce beasts appeared, and natural treasures of multiple elements were also born. One person even saw with their own eyes a thunder beast that, after touching the mysterious fragment, started spitting thunderous flames. Then he comments about the star-observing lake, which is outside the city, where a beast of that type also appeared, but warns that it is a dangerous place, and that, when he enters the Martial University, he will be able to find weapons with multiple attributes, so there is no need to take risks at the moment. Suhong thanks him for the advice. Several hours later, in front of the MC's building, people are amazed that the official limousine appeared in that place, with the city lord's license plate. The quarrelsome woman reflects that, if her son made her ride in a car like that, she could die happy, and thinking about it makes her hate Suhong even more, since, if he had given up the spot, her son would have had a bright future. Because of that, she is determined to increase that family's rent until she drives them out. However, the door opens, and the MC comes out with his uncles, who are surprised by everyone's warm reception. Muram goes to the woman since he wanted to talk to her, because they received a mansion from the city lord and are moving the next morning. In addition, he asks her to return the rent they paid in advance, but his wife laughs because they do not need that money and says she can keep it as a gift. Hong can hardly believe that she tried to humiliate them and ended up being humiliated. Later that night, Suhong goes to the top of the building and knows that it will be the last time he cultivates in that place, and he is already starting to miss it. In addition, with all the points he invested, he still has 1944 left, so he starts investing in blood energy until he reaches 701 points. He realizes that he has finally advanced to intermediate level 2 and decides to research the anomalies the mayor mentioned. However, just by picking up his phone, he cracks the screen, and although he notices that the device did not break, he knows he needs to be careful because he still has not gotten used to the strength at that stage. He does his research and realizes that a rank S spiritual herb appeared overseas, causing an insane dispute among warriors, and even the grandmasters took action. There are also fire beasts that came into contact with a mysterious fragment and instantly gained the attributes of thunder and earth. He thinks about this because he does not know if he can defeat a level 4, but escaping should not be a problem, so he decides that, the next morning, after the move, he will take a better look at that star-observing lake. The next day, in the mansion condominium in Xingcheng, Murem says that they spent the entire morning receiving gifts, and the door almost did not close, since everyone living nearby is either rich or influential. The nobles keep asking Suhong to visit them at all times, since he will always be welcome. He does not really know how to react to all of this, until he sits down in relief once everyone leaves and thinks that dealing with people is more tiring than killing monsters or cultivating. Sometime later, he goes to the warrior base and wonders why there are so many people present, since there are monsters at the star-observing lake. So, theoretically, everyone should be there. A group appears, questioning when the level 3 and 4 warriors will leave because of the lake, since, if they decide to rob them for being level 1, they will not be able to do anything. Meanwhile, on the second floor of the warrior base, Yeki asks if he is really sure that it was the MC who killed his nephew. Lucian answers that he is 100% sure of it. Then, Yeki stands up and throws the man against the floor with his power, since he should be careful with his words, because he should be referring to him as Sir. Meanwhile, at the star-observing lake, a group is observing the place, and Su Hong is watching from afar. Since, from what he noticed, there are only level 2 or 3 warriors. There are even some level 4 warriors. He knows that in this lake, only level 2 multi-attribute beasts have appeared, and the number of experts in the area is absurd. Suddenly, the lake starts bubbling, and a giant creature comes out of it. The warriors shout that it is the Great Spotted Starfish, a level 3 creature in the initial stage. The monster prepares its attack, and a man tells everyone to run because it is a dual-attribute water cannon. Since he is a level 4 warrior, he creates a barrier, but it is completely useless, as the attack sends the man flying. The MC is surprised, since a level 3 dual-attribute strike not only destroyed a level 4 earth defense, but also seriously injured the warrior. Another man charges forward, since he has been waiting for 15 days to finally see a beast of that level, and lands a punch strong enough to knock it to the ground, while all the other warriors advance. 1 minute later, the monster is already torn to pieces, but the crowd complains that they did not find any treasure inside its belly. Su Hong is amazed that a monster of that level was turned into sashimi in just 1 minute, and level 4 warriors are definitely far too cruel. At that moment, he gets startled since completely out of nowhere, someone attacks him from behind. He manages to dodge in shock, and the madman wonders whether his target is a mental master. Su Hong quickly realizes that the man is a level 4, so he uses his crane steps to escape, since, if he had not used his mental power to slow down the attack, he would be dead. Other people appear, telling the boss that he underestimated the enemy and because of that, failed in the sneak attack. He notices that, on top of everything, he is also going to be chased by level 3 warriors, and on the other side, there are still 7 more people chasing him. The MC cannot believe this absurdity, since there are 10 level 3 assassins and 1 level 4 assassin just to kill a mere level 2 warrior. He decides to run away, since something of this scale is probably not even something the Lord could mobilize all at once, and he has no idea when he offended someone so important. The warriors cannot accept how the hell the MC is so fast, since he is using an extremely overpowered rank A movement skill, but they are determined to chase him until they wear him out. Su Hong hears this and finds it funny, since he has no intention of competing with them, so he uses his crane step combined with his mental flight, and the crowd cannot believe that a level 2 is able to fly to that extent. Dozens of kilometers later, the MC stops for a moment to breathe. Since his vitality is gone, his spirit is exhausted, and he can only rely on the endurance of the sovereign body to keep running. He concludes that the one responsible for this might be Yechi, Ye Feng's uncle. Although the man is a level 3 warrior, he could mobilize the entire family to attempt something of this scale. He knows that he can eliminate the 13 level 3 assassins, but things are different against the level 4 man. If he decides to kill the level 3 ones first, he will inevitably suffer a sneak attack from the level 4. But if he fights the level 4 first, he will definitely get injured and be surrounded by the level 3s. His only option is to eliminate all the grade 3s at an absurd speed, so he can focus all his attention on defeating the grade 4. Kajin is so furious that he cuts a stone in half because the information said that Su Hong was a mere level 2 with grade 3 power, but he had no idea that he was also a grade 2 mental master. The group starts to worry because, if they fail, they will definitely be dead. The level 4 tells them to shut up, since, if the MC returns to the city, he will only die even faster. At that moment, some people appear, asking him not to get angry, since Su Hong only revealed himself as a level 2 mental master the day before, and they did not have time to update the data, but tells him to consider himself a lucky man, since he will ask his servants to surround the target in the meantime. Kajin thanks him for the help, since he needs to tear Su Hong to pieces. The man looks at his locator and realizes there has been no reaction at all, so they should go to the next area. On the second day, the group finally finds the MC, and the fight drags on for 2 more whole days, reaching the 7th day of an insane chase through the forest. He stops to piss for a bit, and a warrior shouts that he has located the target, but Su Hong comes in with a flying kick, since he cannot even have peace while pissing. He is frustrated, since during these 7 days, he had to flee and hunt ferocious beasts at the same time, and even with the sovereign body, he is reaching his limit. Sometime later, He arrives at Xingcheng's official supply station. He knows it is risky, but all he can do is rest for one night, and he does not believe they will attack directly in official territory. However, he notices that some people will not stop looking at him, meaning he has been exposed, and comes to the conclusion that the one responsible for all of this is Yeki from the warrior base. At the inn, he opens his system to check the level of things and comments that his blood energy is at 705, and, for level 2 high stage, he must reach at least 900. Unfortunately, he did not gain that many points during these 7 days. He decides to invest in the sovereign body because increasing his blood energy will not help that much, and it is better to strengthen his body since it will directly increase his combat power. As it increases, even if only a little, he realizes that his strength is much greater. He notes that, although the percentage has not risen that much, his strength has increased by about 20%. He decides to cultivate the guidance technique while resting for a bit, since, as soon as the enemies arrive, he can simply jump out the window to escape. Several hours later, a banquet is served at the place, but several people are causing trouble, to the point that Su Hong loses his appetite because of the mess. He reflects that a good amount of time has already passed and the assassins still have not appeared, and he does not know whether they are not daring to act in an official supply station or whether they are preparing an ambush outside. In front of him, a drunk guy says that he found a 3-star stellar purple bamboo, but some grade 4 warriors stole it, and he finds that ridiculous. Su Hong gets excited upon hearing this, since this stellar bamboo is an extremely rare multi-attribute natural treasure. Each star can contain 2 attributes, and, for each extra star, it supports 1 more attribute. The 3-star one supports 4 attributes, and even if he has not yet mastered the fusion of 4 attributes, he can still use it in the future. He draws the warrior's attention and says that, from what he heard, bizarre magnetic fields appear in the places where these treasures are born, and not even a level 4 warrior can steal them easily. The guy realizes that the MC has knowledge, since there really is an extremely powerful gravitational field around the bamboo, and the higher the level of the warrior who enters, the stronger the field becomes. Another one says that the grade 4 warriors were crushed and turned into minced meat as soon as they entered, and, thinking about it better, it is even horrifying to die instantly like that. This makes Su Hong wonder whether his sovereign body could withstand such terrifying gravity. At that moment, an explosion happens in the place, and an attack goes toward him, cutting his table in half. He realizes that the assassins have finally arrived. The squad appears and asks why he stopped running, since he was so good at it. The people hide in fear, since someone at level 4 is leading 10 more people at level 3 to kill a young man at level 2, and he has no idea what he has gotten himself into. Kajin orders everyone to leave the hall immediately and asks Su Hong if he really believed they would not have the courage to attack an official supply station. Su Hong laughs, since, in truth, he had been waiting for them this whole time. The guy laughs, since he does not believe that a mere brat intends to eliminate all of them alone. The MC grabs his spear and, concentrating energy into it, replies that he will never know if he does not try. The level 4 warrior panics when he sees that the spear has 3 attributes and immediately retreats, asking everyone to spread out through the hall. However, it is too late, since the MC jumps into the middle of everyone and shouts for them to explode all at once. This attack was so strong that it could be seen from outside through the doors and windows, and, in the next second, a catastrophic explosion happens in the place. The warriors cannot believe that the assassins needed to use such a powerful technique just to finish off a grade 2. However, the squad is thrown outside, and they begin to believe that, in truth, it was the MC who used the ability to finish everyone off at once. After the smoke dissipates, Kejin appears amid the debris and cannot believe the absurd power he has just witnessed from a 3-attribute technique, since the damn report did not mention this. He reflects that, as a grade 4, he was gravely injured even while being far away, so the MC, who is merely a level 2, definitely died, since he was at the center of the explosion. He laments that they suffered terrible losses, but at least the mission was accomplished, and that is much better than being executed by his leader. However, during this reflection, another explosion happens behind him, and, When he turns around to see what it is, he comes face to face with Su Hong activating another ability. Kajin tries to counterattack in panic, but his target simply disappears before his eyes. He finally realizes what is happening and shouts for his subordinates to wake up quickly because the MC is fleeing once again. The level 3 warrior, carrying his companion, asks what he said, but the MC drives his spear into him and, lifting both of them with one hand, says that he may not be able to eliminate a grade 4, but at least he can finish off the level 3 subordinates. He realizes that the power of a failed fusion of 3 attributes is too terrifying, and if he had not managed to condense the deep earth armor, he probably would have ended up crippled. He throws the subordinates into the air and, once again, goes back to fleeing, since he managed to eliminate most of the level 3 warriors. And, if he manages to successfully fuse the 3 attributes, he may have a chance to also kill a level 4. Kajin burns with fury at what is happening and shouts that he will tear him into 1,000 pieces. Sometime later, at the Xingcheng warrior base, the trio of geniuses is gathered, and Xinghei comments that he wanted to invite Su Hong to go to the star observing lake, but he did not imagine that he had already been missing for 7 days. Tiantuo thinks it is plausible because the guy rested for only 1 day before training in the lake, while they rested for 7 whole days. The girl tells them to hurry because they may end up finding the MC near the lake. Meanwhile, on the 2nd floor of the base, Yeki becomes furious because his squad dared to attack Su Hong at a supply station with a bunch of witnesses. He panics because the city lord values the boy and would definitely eliminate his entire clan if he found out about this order. At the same time, in the purple bamboo forest, the weapon is emitting a mysterious gravitational field around it, and the people cannot walk at all, because even after taking only a few steps, the gravity has already exceeded 30 times normal. Some other warriors calculate that a level 3 warrior would not be able to approach, since the weight is surreal, and both the bones and muscles would give in. The squad approaches and says that the higher a warrior's cultivation level is, the greater the pressure exerted by the gravitational field. So, if someone at level 4 tried to approach, they would feel a weight many times greater than if they were level 3. He reflects that the 3-star stellar purple bamboo is valuable, but there is no point if they cannot take it, and it is better to keep looking for the sacred object that the leaders of the celestial race ordered them to find. At this moment, his locator finds something, and he notices that it is pointing toward the bamboo. He cannot believe such bad luck, since, out of all possible places, the sacred object had to be right in the middle of the bamboo, and he has no idea how he could take it. At this moment, he looks back and seeing the MC running, questions what the hell he is doing in that place, since, apparently, a level 4 leading a group of level 3s cannot kill a mere grade 2 boy. He decides to act personally and flies off, since it is an opportunity for merit and there is no reason to refuse. The MC immediately notices a powerful aura approaching and blocks the attack with his fire armor, which also explodes around him. After the power dissipates, Su Hong is praised for resisting the attack, but the guy shouts for Su Hong to die already. He soon notices that the guy is a follower of the cult and, to make matters worse, knows his name, meaning that, besides Yeki trying this, the demonic cult is also trying to kill him. The 2 attacks collide, and a colossal explosion happens in the forest. The Celestial is thrown far away and cannot believe that the power he witnessed is really from a level 2 warrior, since it is far too monstrous. Then he notices the MC heading toward the bamboo, and because of that, shouts for his squad to hold him back at all costs. Everyone mobilizes, and the MC realizes that more level 4 warriors have appeared to annoy him, and this never ends. The 3 tell everyone to pay attention, since they must hold him back for as long as they can, and, while one of them was shouting this, his head was cut off, since the attack was so powerful and fast that it passed through all of them without them even noticing. The cult cannot believe that one of its members was killed with just 1 blow, but they shout that, no matter what happens, they must stop him at all costs. Su Hong swings his spear, invoking Inverting the Seas, which causes absurd damage to all of them. The Celestial appears, wanting to see how he will block his full power attack, but Su Hong keeps moving and uses his shadow step to head toward the bamboo, since he sees no point at all in trying to block a full force attack from a level 4 warrior. The surprised people are amazed to see someone using the instant step in the bamboo's gravity and cannot even imagine how strong his physique is. The Celestial keeps trying to flee, since he does not believe that a gravitational field could kill him. But he starts to worry, since he has taken only one step and the gravity is already exceeding 30 times normal. He realizes that he will let his target escape and, because of that, launches his spear, telling him to die already. The weapon flies out, but is soon pulled to the ground by the absurd force of the gravitational field. The MC realizes that, for now, he is safe, and the purple bamboo is right ahead. However, the gravity is getting stronger and stronger, and, to make matters worse, he is injured and reaching his limit. He decides to take a pause to use his healing technique, since the people from the demonic cult cannot reach that place. The warriors do not understand how a guy who was using lightning abilities stopped in the middle of the gravity to heal himself using the wood attribute. The followers warn the captain that they will gather everyone to kill Su Hong, but he is more worried about the fact that the sacred object is in the purple bamboo, because if that is really the case and the MC takes it, they will all be dead. That's all, folks. If you enjoy the video, subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks.